Chapter 118. The doorman greeted them according to Chao Yuliang's instructions. The ranking was also based on the overall strength of the families in Songning City. Of course, the reason why Qing Minjing was placed behind Chao Yuliang and Qin Jinping was that although the Qing family was the top family in Songning City, they were women. Therefore it was not a problem for them to be placed behind according to the rules. Who would have thought that Jin Beibei would suddenly make things difficult for them? However, he could not afford to offend Jin Beibei, especially old Master Jin of the Jin family, who was famous for being unreasonable. If he came, the hotel would probably be razed to the ground, and there would be no place to reason with him. Who asked you to discriminate against the Jin family? Being pushed by someone, that person deserved to be unlucky. Chao Yuliang frowned. He did not want Jin Beibei to make things difficult for him. However, he was not stupid. It was impossible for him to be arrogant and arrogant to be able to wrestle with the impersonator Xiaoqin over the years. He just smiled casually and said, Beibei, generally speaking, the last person to show up is the most important one. Look, in general, the last person to show up is the chairman. Oh, so you mean that I am the VIP, right? More honorable than you? Jin Beibei asked. Yes. Chao Yuliang nodded. Then why don't I have a diamond VIP card? Aren't you a VIP? You even have a diamond VIP card. Are you lying to me? Jin Beibei suddenly glared at Chao Yuliang and said angrily. Well, Chao Yuliang was very angry. It was a failure to bring Jin Beibei along. However, if he wanted to invite Qing Minjing, she would not come without Jin Beibei. In order to please Qing Minjing, he had to put up with it. The so-called Diamond VIP card was a VIP card of the highest level given by the Chao family. Those who came to eat here could enjoy the free treatment. The Chao family only gave such cards to some important partners and the outstanding disciples of the family. For example, Chao Yuliang was the heir of the Chao family. Naturally, he was qualified to have such a VIP card. He usually chose this place to treat his guests because he did not have to pay. However, he did not expect that he would be tricked by Jin Beibei before he even had his meal. Qin Jinping looked at Chao Yuliang sympathetically and thought, You mocked me for having my car stolen by Jin Beibei. What happened now? You were tricked, weren't you? Well, I'll give this card to you. You have it, but I don't. So, you are of a higher level than me now, aren't you? Chao Yuliang gritted his teeth. He thought to himself that he could consider it a love investment. If he gave it to Jin Beibei, he would be giving it to Qing Minjing in exchange for a good impression from her. That was better than anything else. It was just a card. With his position in the Chao family, it would not be difficult for him to get another one. That's more like it. Jin Beibei put the diamond VIP card back and said proudly, Today Jin Beibei is treating us. Feel free to eat whatever you like. Who? Chao Yuliang took a deep breath and almost collapsed on the spot. You are treating us? However, he knew that if he infuriated Jin Beibei and the girl left with Qing Minjing, all his efforts would be in vain. I didn't know that, Chao Yuliang. It's only been a few days since we last met, and you seem to be quite good at training yourself. Have you been watching a blockbuster recently? Xiaoqin glanced at Chao Yuliang mockingly. What blockbuster? Chao Yuliang was slightly dazed. The Ninja Turtle. Before Xiaoqin opened his mouth, Jin Beibei continued, Am I right, cousin-in-law? Let him figure it out on his own, Xiaoqin said with a smile. Chao Yuliang's face turned gloomy, not because Jin Beibei called him a ninja turtle, but because Jin Beibei had called him cousin-in-law. He knew that Jin Beibei might be playing tricks on Xiaoqin, just like how he had been tricked without him knowing. However, on second thought, what benefit could Jin Beibei get from playing tricks on Xiaoqin? Jin Beibei had tricked people a few times for her own benefit, such as Qin Jinping's car and his own diamond VIP card. However, Xiaoqin was a poor guy. What benefit could he get? Therefore, Chao Yuliang did not know whether it was true or not. The more he thought about it, the more upset he felt. However, he could not say anything, fearing that Jin Beibei would play tricks on him again if he asked her. They went upstairs and entered the private room. However, what happened next made Chao Yuliang even more upset. After Jin Beibei sat down, she held the menu and asked Xiaoqin to order food. Cousin-in-law, look. This is delicious, said Jin Beibei. Yes. We ate this in the Azure Sea Palace last time. It's delicious. Xiaoqin nodded. Beibei, look. This looks delicious too. Yes. Let's order one too. Let's eat together later, said Jin Beibei. Okay. Let's order one too. Xiaoqin was more than happy to play dumb with Jin Beibei. He did not try to hide his relationship with Jin Beibei either because it would be too unnatural. Qing Minjing pretended that she did not care, but she was secretly frowning. Why is Xiao Chen acting exactly like Jean Bebe? Two gluttons and a money grubber. Xiao Chen had earned 150,000 for his appearance, and Jean Bebe had gotten a diamond VIP card. However, what Qing Minjing did not expect was that she had asked for 200,000 before. Seeing Xiao Chen's drooling face, Qin Jinping could not help but mock. Xiao Chen, why do you look like a hungry ghost? How many days has it been since you last ate? Qin Jinping, are you scolding me indirectly? Jean Bebe raised her head and bared her teeth at Qin Jinping. Well? Qin Jinping did not think of Jean Bebe at all. Now that he realized that he had offended Jean Bebe too, he immediately regretted his words. How could he have been so talkative? What a b*****? He could only say with a smile, how could I? Well, you said you couldn't, but you must be thinking the same way, said Jean Bebe. Speaking of bickering, Qin Jinping was no match for Jean Bebe at all. Even if he and Chao Yuliang worked together, they wouldn't be able to do anything. He was immediately put out by Jean Bebe. What about you? While talking, Jean Bebe suddenly slapped her car key on the table. Right, Qin Jinping, I think your car is quite good. Why don't we swap cars? Swap cars? Qin Jinping was slightly dazed, but Jean Bebe did not pursue what had happened just now. It was exactly what he wanted. Besides, the Porsche Panamera had been modified, and the Porsche 991 had not been modified yet. It would be very worthwhile to swap cars. Thinking about that, Qin Jinping hurried to say, okay, let's do it. While talking, he gave the car key to Jean Bebe. Jean Bebe was rather straightforward this time. She gave her car key to Qin Jinping too. Seeing that Jean Bebe did not play any tricks this time, Qin Jinping was greatly relieved. After swapping cars, Jean Bebe seemed to be quite satisfied. She went to order food from Xiao Chen again. This time Qin Jinping had learned his lesson. He shut his mouth and did not dare to say anything. Chao Yuliang did the same. He had intended to test Xiao Chen, but he did not dare to open his mouth to test him. If he was wrong, he would be screwed. Very soon the dishes were served. They were all the dishes that Jean Bebe had ordered. However, Chao Yuliang and the rest of them were not really there to eat. She could order whatever she wanted. After the waiters left, Jean Bebe and Xiao Chen began to eat as if nobody else were there. Cousin-in-law, this dried pot is delicious. Jean Bebe placed the dried pot in front of her and Xiao Chen. Yes, it is indeed delicious. Xiao Chen nodded after eating. Bebe, the mushroom I ate just now was delicious too. Yes, the mushroom is delicious. After taking a bite, Jean Bebe's eyes narrowed into crescents. She picked up a prawn crawler and put it on Xiao Chen's plate. Cousin-in-law, this prawn crawler is delicious too. Let me have a taste. Xiao Chen picked it up and stuffed it into his mouth. It's delicious. Delicious. Chao Yuliang looked at Xiao Chen and Jean Bebe in a daze. Now, he was not convinced that Xiao Chen and Qing Minjing were in a relationship. Although Jean Bebe called Xiao Chen her cousin-in-law, Qing Minjing did not seem to care about Xiao Chen at all. Instead, she slightly frowned when she saw Xiao Chen and Jean Bebe. However, Chao Yuliang's concern came from Jean Bebe. Was there anything fishy going on between Xiao Chen and Jean Bebe? The two of them seemed to be very close. Was Jean Bebe really trying to trick Xiao Chen? It did not look like it. If the two of them were dating, Chao Yuliang would have believed it. However, his heart suddenly skipped a beat when he thought of the idea. No. He could not allow Xiao Chen to make a comeback. Absolutely not. Xiao Chen, how are you doing right now? Are you still in touch with the Xiao family? Chao Yuliang asked calmly. Not bad. Somebody often invites me to dinner. I feel that my life is even better than before. Before, I had to pay for my meals with my own money. Now somebody else pays for me, Xiao Chen said. The Xiao family? Not really. I saw my sister a couple of days ago and was scolded by her. Chao Yuliang was dazed for a moment. Then he was more or less relieved. It seemed that the Xiao family's attitude toward Xiao Chen had not changed. It was a good thing. Now he had 3 pieces of information, some good and some bad. One was that Qing Minjing and Xiao Chen did not seem to be in a relationship. They should not be a love story between a young lady and a servant. However, he was not very sure. 2 was that the relationship between Jean Bebe and Xiao Chen was a little special. He did not know whether Jean Bebe wanted to trick Xiao Chen or make use of Xiao Chen. Or perhaps both of them were greedy for money, so they fell in love with each other? The 3rd piece of information was more important. The Xiao family's attitude toward Xiao Chen had not changed. He could be sure of that. Chao Yuliang did not think that Xiao Chen would lie to him. The 3rd piece of information was really good news. I haven't seen Xiao for a long time. By the way, Qing Minjing, I heard that your brother, Qing Mingqiang, wants to propose marriage to the Xiao family? Qiao Yuliang looked at Qing Minjing and said. Mingqiang like Xiao Xiao? This surprised Qing Minjing. Qing Mingqiang's brother was not close to her, his cousin. Chapter 119. Although there was not much of a difference between the two of them, only a few years apart, Qing Mingqiang seemed to be very scheming, which made it difficult for Qing Minjing to get along with him. For so many years, other than talking during the holidays, it was actually very difficult for them to interact with each other. Qing Mingqiang was the son of Qing Minjing's second uncle, Qing Zhongfan. I just heard about it. It seems that the marriage between the Qing family and the Xiao family isn't over yet. Qiao Yuliang was relieved to see that Qing Minjing was just surprised. I haven't seen Xiao Xiao for a long time. Haha, by the way, Qing Minjing, I heard that your brother, Qing Mingqiang, wants to propose marriage to the Xiao family? Qiao Yuliang looked at Qing Minjing and said. Mingqiang like Xiao Xiao? This surprised Qing Minjing. Qing Mingqiang's younger brother wasn't close to his cousin. Although they were only a few years apart, Qing Mingqiang seemed to be very scheming, which made it difficult for Qing Minjing to hang out with him. For so many years, apart from talking during festivals, it was difficult for them to interact with each other. Qing Mingqiang was the son of Qing Minjing's second uncle, Qing Zhongfan. I just heard about it. It seems that the marriage between the Qing family and the Xiao family isn't over yet. Qiao Yuliang was relieved to see that Qing Minjing was just surprised. In theory, if the Qing family and the Xiao family united by marriage, it wouldn't be a good thing for Xiaoqin. This was because it would completely cut off the possibility of a relationship between Qing Minjing and Xiaoqin. The Qing family weren't fools. It was impossible for two members of the same family to unite by marriage with another family. That wouldn't maximize the benefits at all. Moreover, in this marriage the Qing family would be the leader and the Xiao family would be the weaker one. In order to appease the anger of the Qing family, the Xiao family would definitely lower their stance. As long as the Qing family didn't forgive Xiaoqin would never be able to make a comeback. The most important thing was that Xiaoqin's younger sister, Xiaoqin, didn't like Xiaoqin, which confirmed that it was impossible for Xiaoqin to return to the Xiao family. Of course, the final benefit that these things brought to Qiao Yuliang was that if the Qiao family used their power, Qing Minjing might be his wife. Really? Qing Minjing asked indifferently, which made Qiao Yuliang unable to see her real thoughts. In fact, Qing Minjing's thoughts weren't as complicated as Qiao Yuliang's. Although she was a member of a big family, she naturally couldn't see the drawbacks with her kind character. In her opinion, if the Qing family really united by marriage with the Xiao family again, would Xiaoqin be able to return to the Xiao family? After Xiaoqin heard it, he felt a little strange in his heart. What was the Qing family playing at? He could see it clearly. Even if the engagement between Qing Minjing and himself was destroyed, he was more likely to return to the Xiao family in the end. Or was it that the Qing family was just angry for a while? After the anger subsided, they wouldn't care about his life anymore? I can't be sure. It's just a rumor. In fact, Qiao Yuliang wasn't sure about this matter. He also heard that person mention it vaguely. At this time he said it just to test Qing Minjing. However, after testing he couldn't see anything on Qing Minjing's face, which made him very depressed. Qiao Yuliang had no other way. He could only give Qin Jinping a look. Since he couldn't test her, then he would carry out the second plan, which was to defame Xiaoqin. As long as he often belittled Xiaoqin's image, then Qing Minjing would definitely not have feelings for Xiaoqin. This kind of thing was imperceptible. As long as she slowly hated Xiaoqin from the bottom of her heart, then even if Xiaoqin wanted to change this impression, it would be useless. Xiaoqin, after dinner little brother will bring you to have some fun. I heard that there are a few top girls in the Dreamland nightclub. One of them is a porn actress called Cici. Can I help you arrange it? Qin Jinping said at this time. Xiaoqin was slightly stunned. Although he had been to the Dreamland nightclub to have fun, it was nothing more than singing, drinking and showing off with his little brother. He had never looked for any prostitutes. He was still a virgin. What was this Qin Jinping doing? However, very soon he understood. Was this guy sent by Qiao Yuliang to be his henchman? Belittling his image in front of Qing Minjing? Xiaoqin was very puzzled. It was basically impossible for him and Miss to be together. Why was he doing these useless things? Could it be that he was such a big threat to him? Oh, it's Cici. Pingzi, what are the names of the two girls we played together last time? Those two young models? Xiaoqin nodded shamelessly and then said to Qin Jinping, I think those two are good. We can have a threesome. F***CKU, aren't you framing me? Anyway, it's impossible for me and Miss to be together now. I don't have any expectations for goddess Xinjingxian, so I'm not afraid of slandering you. Since you like going to nightclubs so much, I don't mind framing you. Ah. Qin Jinping was stunned. When did he play with young models with Xiao Qin? Xiao Qin's words made Xinjingxian frown. Although Qin Jinping was arranged by the family, it didn't mean that she liked Qin Jinping. When she heard that Qin Jinping went to play with young models, Xinjingxuan's impression of him suddenly plummeted. There was no other reason. It was because Qin Jinping had been bragging about how upright he was when he was in contact with her for the past few days. Because he had been a second young master since he was young, he didn't have too many bad habits of a playboy. He was Xinjingxuan's ideal marriage partner. But now it seemed that they were jackals of the same tribe. As for Xiao Qin, Xinjingxian didn't feel that there was anything wrong with it. Because Xiao Qin was notorious in the past. He had such a beautiful fiancée, but he still flirted with other women. Not only did he pursue Kerlin, he also pursued her. So, Xinjingxian was used to Xiao Qin's behavior. As for Qing Minjing, she just frowned slightly. She didn't believe that Xiao Qin was a playboy. How many of these young masters were playboys? Even her younger brother, Qing Mingqiang, Qing Minjing had heard that he played with women. It wasn't a secret in the aristocratic families. Qing Minjing was completely disappointed with her fiancé, Xiao Qin. So now that Xiao Qin changed a little, she was surprised. As for these things that Qin Jinping said, Qing Minjing didn't care at all. She had seen the worst side of him. How could she be afraid that it wouldn't be worse? In Qing Minjing's opinion, it was unforgivable that Xiao Qin bullied others and forced himself to pursue Kerlin. It was normal for him to find a prostitute. If Zhao Yuliang knew Qing Minjing's logic, he would probably die of anger. Qing Minjing didn't have high requirements. Was it a surprise that he was a little better? However, Qin Jinping used to work for Xiao Qin. If he denied it, Xinjingxian wouldn't believe it. It was him who brought up this topic and Xiao Qin said it in a natural way. It didn't seem to be fake at all. Wow, a threesome? Isn't it cool? Jean Bebe raised her head and looked at Xiao Qin with admiration. Cousin-in-law, you are so powerful. Pooh. Xiao Qin spat out the drink in his mouth. He had just mentioned it casually, but Jean Bebe took it seriously and looked very excited. Was this girl's mind abnormal? What's a threesome? Qing Minjing didn't know what it meant. She looked at Jean Bebe in confusion. She thought it was a round-trip flight. It's a threesome. Jean Bebe said, but threesome is not limited by gender. 2 men and 1 woman, 2 women and 1 man. 3 men or 3 women are all threesome. But a threesome is 2 women and 1 man. In other words, threesome includes a threesome. A threesome is a subset of threesome. Qing Minjing didn't know what a threesome was. But threesome was common. How could she not know? She glared at Xiao Qin after hearing that. Hey, don't lead me astray. Bebe said that. Xiao Qin said with a bitter smile. Humph, you did it, Qing Minjing said. Then I did it. Xiao Qin said. You. Qing Minjing was a bit angry. Can't you be more reserved in front of your fiancé? Do you even care about me? How can you talk about such things in front of me? How annoying. Seeing that Qing Minjing was starting to hate Xiao Qin, Zhao Yuliang was quite happy. It seemed that his scheme had worked. However, if he knew Qing Minjing's real thoughts at the moment, he would probably vomit blood. Shall we go in a while? For Zhao Yuliang, Qin Jinping was ready to risk everything. After all, Xinjingxian was already his fiancée. Even if he didn't have a good impression of her, it was something that couldn't be changed. At most, he would kiss her again later, but he couldn't run away. He was in urgent need of Zhao Yuliang to take him to some occasions where the young masters would appear in order to increase his appearance and sense of existence. Otherwise, it would be very awkward for him to take over the identity of the young master. Okay, Xiao Qin said indifferently. Jean Bebe was full at the moment. Hearing that Qin Jinping wanted to go to a nightclub, she immediately echoed, Oh, I want to go too. Qin Jinping's face darkened. He had planned to let Xinjingxian, Qing Minjing and Jean Bebe leave first. After all, if he took Xiao Qin there, he and Zhao Yuliang would have to have some fun, wouldn't they? However, if Jean Bebe went there, what if Xinjingxian and Qing Minjing went there too? However, Zhao Yuliang's eyes brightened. If Jean Bebe went there, wouldn't it be possible for Qing Minjing to go there too? By then, she would witness Xiao Qin's embarrassing behavior when he was looking for a prostitute. In that case, Qing Minjing would probably never be able to be with Xiao Qin again in her life, would she? Thinking of that, Zhao Yuliang pretended to be surprised and said, Jean Bebe, Xiao Qin is going to look for a prostitute. What are you going to do there? I'm going to look for a prostitute too. I haven't looked for one yet. Jean Bebe, however, shouted excitedly, I'm going too. I'm going too. Bebe, do you have that function? Cheng Menjing looked at Jean Bebe, who was yelling and screaming, and felt very embarrassed. How stupid was she? I don't, but my cousin-in-law does. I'll watch him look for a prostitute and cheer for him, said Jean Bebe. Chapter 120. Ahem. A scene appeared in Xiao Chen's mind. He was with a girl, and Jean Bebe was cheering for him. How exciting. He didn't know why, but the girl's appearance had turned into Cheng Menjing's. Then I'll go and have a look. Let's watch together. Cheng Menjing looked at Xiao Chen's fantasy and enjoyment. Suddenly she felt a little uncomfortable. Am I so unattractive? I didn't see you look like this when you were at home. You look so beautiful when you are with a girl. I'm so mad. I'll go and ruin things for you. However, if Cheng Menjing knew that Xiao Chen was fantasizing about her just now, she didn't know if she should be happy or angry. Seeing that Cheng Menjing was going, Qiao Yuliang was relieved. But what puzzled him was that Xiao Chen didn't seem to care about Cheng Menjing's opinion at all. It seemed that there was really nothing going on between them. However, it was a little strange to say that there was nothing going on between them under the same roof. Apart from Cheng Menjing and Xin Jingxian, the rest of the food was eaten by Xiao Chen and Jean Bebe. Qin Jinping and Qiao Yuliang didn't eat any of it. Most importantly, they didn't have the nerve to fight for it. Jean Bebe and Xiao Chen had placed their plates in front of them. How embarrassing would that be? But the two of them didn't seem to think about it at all. They ate as happily as they could. After the meal, Jean Bebe waved her hand and swiped her diamond card. The bill was free. Qiao Yuliang's face twitched again. That was his card. Wonderland in Dreams was one of the most famous nightclubs in Songning City. It was luxuriously decorated and had many entertainment programs. It was the first choice of entertainment for the children of the aristocratic families. 3 cars parked in the underground parking lot of Wonderland in Dreams one after another. They got out of the cars and entered Wonderland in Dreams. When the receptionist at the door saw Qiao Yuliang and Qin Jinping, she immediately greeted them with a smile. Young Master Qiao, young Master Qin, you're here again? Why did he bring 3 little girls with him today? And they're all so pretty? Are you dissatisfied with the ladies here? The receptionist automatically ignored Xiao Chen. Although Xiao Chen had been here before, Xiao Chen's deeds had spread. Who would still respect him? He looked like a follower and was not a big shot. When Qiao Yuliang heard the greeting, he really wanted to slap the man in the face. Usually he would be very happy. After all, the receptionist flattered him and ignored Xiao Chen. That kind of feeling would be very satisfying. But now the receptionist said this. Didn't that mean that he came often? Moreover, he mentioned that he was looking for a prostitute. Didn't that mean that he often came here to look for a prostitute? As for the fact that the receptionist didn't know Cheng Menjing, Xin Jingxian and Jean Bebe, it was understandable. Why would girls like them come here? Today was the first time. Ahem. Qiao Yuliang coughed twice and glanced at Cheng Menjing. He said, Menjing, don't misunderstand. I'm just here to socialize and play. Oh, what does that have to do with me? Cheng Menjing rolled her eyes and didn't take it to heart. Qiao Yuliang sighed in his heart. Cheng Menjing didn't have that kind of interest in him. However, from Cheng Menjing's expression, she probably didn't have any interest in Xiao Chen either. They both had this kind of disdainful expression. Jingxian, that's because I used to occasionally come here with young Master Xiao. It's also for fun. Qin Jinping quickly explained to Xin Jingxian. Xin Jingxian frowned slightly. She thought Qin Jinping was too unreliable. She decided to go back and discuss with her father. Even if it was a political marriage, they shouldn't look for Qin Jinping. She thought they wouldn't be happy in the future. It wasn't scary that he had looked for a prostitute. What was scary was that he lied to others. Xin Jingxian was the eldest daughter of an aristocratic family. She could barely accept a man having 3 wives and 4 concubines, let alone playing with a prostitute. However, what she was most afraid of was deceiving people. Xin Jingxian didn't think it was very tolerable. At this time, Xin Jingxian felt that Xiao Chen was much more pleasing to the eye. This person never pretended. He was what he was. The greeter saw that Qiao Yuliang and Qin Jinping's expressions weren't right. After listening to their explanation to the girls beside them, he immediately understood that these beauties weren't ordinary women. They were people with status. His previous words were a bit unnecessary. He was so scared that he quickly moved to the side and didn't dare to say anything more. It seems that I come here too rarely. They don't even know me. Haha. Xiao Chen seemed to laugh at himself. In fact, it indirectly meant that Qiao Yuliang and Qin Jinping were regular customers here. These two people finally felt like they had shot themselves in the foot. They obviously wanted to ruin Xiao Chen's reputation, but Xiao Chen didn't seem to care about this at all. Of course Xiao Chen didn't care. In the past, in order to save his life, he didn't hesitate to pretend to be a prodigal. What was this little thing? Young Master Xiao, Young Master Chao, Young Master Qin, are you here to sing? At this time a man in a black suit came over. Obviously the greeter told him about the situation here. He was the lobby manager, Feng Yujing. He was a smart person. As soon as he came up, he put Xiao Chen in front of him. In addition to showing that he valued Xiao Chen, it also indirectly showed that Xiao Chen was a regular customer. However, if it was usual, it would be fine. With the previous words of the greeter, he was a little pretentious. Yes, sing. Chao Yuliang breathed a sigh of relief. Give me a private room. Okay, please wait a moment. As he spoke, Feng Yujing picked up the walkie-talkie and spoke into it. Then he said to Chao Yuliang, Purple Chi Pavilion private room on the 3rd floor. The 3rd floor of the Wonderland of Dreams was filled with luxurious private rooms. They were all named with the words Purple Chi Chamber, East Ascension Chamber, and Rising Sun Chamber. There were no room numbers. Otherwise, some guests would want private room number 1. That would be difficult to deal with. Furthermore, they were all words. You would not be able to tell which one was the best. Wait, aren't we here to look for a mistress? What song are we singing? Jin Beibei interrupted Feng Yujing and said, Qin Jinpeng, didn't you say you wanted Mistress Zhao? Feng Yujing was stunned. He looked at Jin Beibei in surprise and didn't know what to say. A girl came here to look for a mistress? He looked at Chao Yuliang with some difficulty. Let's sing for a while first and then look for a mistress later. There's no hurry? Chao Yuliang said. Oh, okay then. Jin Beibei nodded. Feng Yujing heaved a sigh of relief and sent them to the elevator. The 3rd floor's decoration was obviously not of the same level as the 1st and 2nd floors. In the past, Xiao Chen had also been here. However, it was only limited to singing and drinking. He was not very interested in looking for a mistress. The few of them exited the elevator and walked in the direction of Purple Chi Pavilion. However, when they passed by one of the private rooms, Xiao Chen's footsteps slowed down slightly. That was because he heard a familiar voice. However, very quickly, Xiao Chen continued walking forward as if nothing had happened. He was secretly thinking about how he could make use of this matter. To be honest, Xiao Chen hated Chao Yuliang and Qin Jinpeng very much. He was not a saint. If there was a grudge, there was a grudge. Regardless of whether he was pretending to be a playboy or not, the grudge between him and Chao Yuliang had never been resolved. Of course, in the end it was because Chao Yuliang liked Xiao Chen's fiancée, Qing Menjing. Even though Xiao Chen had acted nonchalant at the start, he still cared deep down. Furthermore, there was Qin Jinpeng. This traitor had actually snatched Xiao Chen's goddess? If Xiao Chen had not been afraid of the Qin family's suspicions, he would have sent him to meet his brother long ago. The reason why he had been laughing and joking was actually because Xiao Chen was more tolerant. They wanted to test Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen also wanted to see if the person who had been trying to harm him was Qin Jinpeng or Chao Yuliang. After entering the VIP room and ordering some snacks and beer, the waiter turned on the KTV song ordering system. Then Chao Yuliang volunteered to sing. It had to be said that Chao Yuliang had a good voice. At least Xiao Chen thought so because he could not sing at all. However, what puzzled Xiao Chen was that Chao Yuliang had chosen a female singer's song. In fact, Chao Yuliang had heard from somewhere that Qing Menjing liked this song. However, when he sang it, he found that Qing Menjing did not even look at it. Then he realized that he had been cheated. Chao Yuliang, I didn't expect you to be such a sissy. Jin Beibei laughed. It's a cross-roll practice. Chao Yuliang was speechless. He suddenly remembered that it was Jin Beibei who told him the name of the song. I bought a bag last year. After singing the song, Chao Yuliang walked to Qing Menjing with the wireless microphone and said ingratiatingly, Menjing, what song do you want to sing? Do you want me to help you? Qing Menjing glared at Chao Yuliang and said, I don't like singing. Chao Yuliang was slightly stunned. Why was she angry all of a sudden? Cousin Menjing is tone deaf. Miangzi, you are doomed. Jin Beibei suddenly burst into laughter. Beibei, do you want to know how death feels? Qing Menjing turned around and continued to glare at Jin Beibei. Not now. I'll come to you in 100 years when I want to. Jin Beibei shut her mouth. It was not until then that Chao Yuliang realized that his flattery had gone too far. He was very upset and gave the microphone to Qin Jinpeng. Then he sat down and gave Qing Menjing a bottle of drink. Do you want to drink something? I like this. Qing Menjing walked past Chao Yuliang's hand and picked up a bottle of fruit green tea. Then she opened it and took a sip. I'm going to the bathroom. Xiao Qin suddenly stood up and walked out of the room. He could tell that his mistress did not like this place. She came here because of Jin Beibei. But at this moment, the noisy and dim environment made her frown. Xiao Qin did not know why he cared about Qing Menjing's feelings. Was it because... Chapter 121. Is she my mistress? Or was she once my fiancée? Perhaps it was both. As for looking for a prostitute, it was completely impossible for Xiao Qin. He wasn't that desperate. He hadn't looked for one before. Why would he look for one now? Xiao Qin came out of the private room. Just as someone came out of the private room where Xiao Qin had stayed for a while. Xiao Qin came out because he sensed the movement here. Sure enough. Xiao Qin, why are you here? Lu Zhiming saw Xiao Qin rushing towards him and he was a little puzzled. Young Master Lu, but I don't have time to talk to you. I have to find the security guard. It's not good. Something big happened. Xiao Qin said anxiously. Wait. After Lu Zhiming heard Xiao Qin's words, he grabbed Xiao Qin. What happened? Why are you looking for the security guard? I don't want to talk to you now. It will be late in a while. Xiao Qin yelled. What the hell are you talking about? Lu Zhiming was also anxious. It's better to find me than to find the security guard. In this place, if I, Lu Zhiming, can't solve it, it's useless to find someone else. It was no wonder that Lu Zhiming was arrogant. This dreamland and wonderland was his Lu family's business, so he dared to say this. Moreover, Lu Zhiming wanted to kill Xiao Qin now, but he couldn't make a move openly. First, he told Jing Xiaoquan that it was not in line with the rules of the underworld if he made a move openly. Second, it was more important that Yu Xiaoquan was watching. Although he had thoughts about Yu Xiaoquan, he didn't dare to offend Yu Xiaoquan. Therefore, he pretended to listen to Yu Xiaoquan's words and built a good relationship with Xiao Chen. Now his purpose was to gain Xiao Chen's trust, so that he could have a chance to trick Xiao Chen. It seemed that the effect was very obvious. Then I'll tell you. Today 2 ruthless men invited me, Qing Menjing and Jin Beibei, to play here. One of them was my former underling, but now he has changed and doesn't care about me anymore. Xiao Chen said anxiously. What? Qing Menjing is also here? At first, Lu Zhiming didn't pay much attention to it, but when he heard Qing Menjing's name, he immediately paid attention. What happened? And then? Then another ruthless man, he is Qing Menjing's pursuer. I heard that he wanted to drug Qing Menjing's drink, and then take the opportunity. You know, Xiao Chen said, although I like her now, no matter what, Qing Menjing is my former fiancée. She likes that man, it's okay. But the point is that she doesn't like him. I can't ignore it. Don't you think so? F***ck their ancestors. As soon as Lu Zhiming heard that someone had drugged Qing Menjing, he immediately exploded. He was so angry that he jumped up from the ground. Who dares to touch the woman that I, Lu Zhiming, fancy? You dare to drug someone in my territory? I'll F***king kill him. Oh, young Master Lu, don't be impulsive. Seeing that Lu Zhiming was about to rush over, Xiao Qin quickly grabbed him. I said he is a ruthless man. A ruthless man means a warrior. If it were ordinary people, I would have beaten them to death. Oh, that's true. After hearing this, Lu Zhiming didn't rush over. Instead, he turned his head and shouted to the box he had just come out of, Brothers Dong Yu and Dong Shu, you two come out and follow me to kick people. Yes. The people in the box responded and came out. They were 2 big men who looked somewhat similar. Judging from their names, they should be brothers. These 2 are? Xiao Qin asked quickly. These 2 are the personal disciples of our Lu family's old ancestor. They are also my big brother and second brother. Today I invited them to have fun. You really found the right time. If it was any other time, I really wouldn't be able to convince Master to ask them to help. Lu Zhiming said proudly, Big brother Dong Yu is a martial artist at the peak of Stage 6 Inner Force. Second brother Dong Shu is also a martial artist at the peak of Stage 4 Inner Force. With them taking action, no matter how ruthless people are, they will have to crawl out of here. That's awesome. What are you waiting for? Hurry up and save them. Xiao Qin said excitedly. However, in Xiao Qin's heart, a storm was set off. A martial artist at the peak of Stage 6 Inner Force. Lu Zhiming actually had such an expert by his side. If Lu Zhiming really let this person deal with him, then even if he had the help of the Elder Heaven Ancestor, he wouldn't be a match. Fortunately, Lu Zhiming couldn't order these 2 people around. Otherwise, the consequences would be unimaginable. The most important thing now was to increase his strength as soon as possible. Yes, save them. Let's go. Lu Zhiming waved his hand and the four of them rushed to the Purple Chi Pavilion. When they arrived at the entrance of the Purple Chi Pavilion, Lu Zhiming pointed to the door of the private room and asked, "Is this the place?" "That's right." Xiao Qin nodded. "I'd better follow behind. If those two ruthless people find out that I was the one who leaked the information, they will kill me afterward. They don't dare to offend a fierce person like young Master Lu, but a small character like me can't. My family won't protect me." "Alright, then you stay behind." Lu Zhiming actually didn't want Xiao Chen to be in the limelight. This was a great opportunity for him to be in the limelight. It was enough for him to be in the limelight. If he let Qing Minjing remember that he saved her, she might have a good impression of him. Thinking of this, Lu Zhiming fiercely kicked the door of the private room. With a loud bang, the door of the private room was kicked open. Lu Zhiming rushed into the private room first and saw Qing Minjing drinking a drink while Chao Yuliang was beside her saying something. F***ck your mother's leg. Lu Zhiming flew over and slapped Chao Yuliang's face. Half of Chao Yuliang's face immediately swelled up like a steamed bun. He was slapped in a daze and didn't know what had happened. He sat there in a daze and didn't move. At this moment, Lu Zhiming's blood was boiling. He wasn't happy with the first slap, so he gave a second slap. With a pa-pa-pa-pa sound, Chao Yuliang was immediately hit until his mouth was full of blood. His face also became like a pig's head. "Oh, who are you? What are you doing?" Qin Jinping was greatly shocked. Pointing at the thug who had broken into the private room, he shouted, What are you doing?" He had just been promoted to the heir of the Qin family and hadn't participated in any activities of the noble families yet. Therefore he didn't know who Lu Zhiming was at all. "Boy, don't move if you don't want to die." Dong Yu walked over and grabbed Qin Jinping's collar. She dragged him aside as if he were a chicken and revealed the capability of a warrior at the peak of the 6th level of his inner force. Qin Jinping was aghast in his heart. Not only was this thug incomparably ferocious, his strength was also very superb. He was a warrior at the peak of the 6th level of his inner force. Where did he come from? The lady was shocked. Qin Jingxian was shocked. Jin Beibei, on the other hand, watched Chao Yuliang being beaten in excitement. Bam, 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 bam. Lu Zhiming was not satisfied yet. He kicked Chao Yuliang hard and knocked him to the ground. However, Chao Yuliang came back to himself this time. He hurried to protect his critical parts and dodged back and forth. Lu Zhiming was also a warrior at the 1st level of inner force. If he really attacked Chao Yuliang would certainly be beaten up badly. Therefore it could not be helped. Chao Yuliang could only defend himself in secret, but he did not dare to be too obvious. If he did not defend himself, he would be beaten to death. More importantly, he would be beaten out of nowhere. He did not even see who his opponent was. However, seeing that Chao Yuliang was dodging, Lu Zhiming felt that the beating was not satisfying anymore. So he said to Dong Shu, who did not attack, "Second senior brother, come here and help me hold him down. I'm going to beat this little bastard to death. Damn it. How dare he touch the woman that I, Lu Zhiming, like? He must be tired of living." Dong Shu nodded. He came over and held Chao Yuliang down. Chao Yuliang wanted to struggle, but no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't move. He secretly used the capability of the peak of the 3rd level of inner force, but he still could not break free, which meant that his opponent was more powerful. In desperation, Chao Yuliang could only defend himself with all his strength. Fortunately, Lu Zhiming's strength was not very high. Under Chao Yuliang's full defense, he was not badly beaten. However, Chao Yuliang only dared to defend himself secretly, but did not dare to show his strength of the peak of the 3rd level of inner force. Although Qin Jinping was on his side, Qing Minjing, Qin Jingxian, and Jin Beibei were all from aristocratic families. If he secretly defended himself, they might not feel anything because the internal force of the defense could only be perceived by the attacker who was very close to him. However, if the internal force of the attack was released, everyone nearby could feel it. Yes, Chao Yuliang was not a real foppish young master. Although he looked as arrogant and domineering as Xiao Chen, they were all from aristocratic families. Who was more stupid than the other? What you saw might not be the truth. For example, Yu Xiaochuan and Jing Xiaoquan were all scheming people. Even Lu Zhiming was not simple. Although he had been tricked by Xiao Chen several times, if Xiao Chen hadn't hidden his true strength, if he was really the hedonistic idiot from before, he would have probably been toyed to death by Lu Zhiming by now. He wouldn't have survived until now. It could only be said that Lu Zhiming was not as smart as Xiao Chen, but it did not mean that he was not smart. In fact, the plots he made were exactly what a son from a family of mafia should have, but he used them on the wrong person. Over these years, Chao Yuliang had been hiding his real strength. He looked like a good-for-nothing on the surface. In fact, he had started to cooperate with someone when he was very young. The reason why he could become the eldest son of the Chao family was that with the help of that person, his cousin was expelled from the Chao family and sent to the north to manage his business. Now he was the only heir of the Chao family. Xiaoqin hid outside the door of the private room. His breathing was slightly rapid, and his hands were clenched into fists, which was enough to show the injustice in his heart at this moment. Chapter 122. Others might not be able to sense Chao Yuliang's strength at the peak of Stage 3 inner force, but as a cultivator, Xiaoqin would be able to sense it as long as a martial artist released their inner force, unless they deliberately suppressed it and hid it, ensuring that their inner force would not leak at all times. Xiaoqin would never have thought that Chao Yuliang was actually a martial artist, and that he had already reached the peak of Stage 3 inner force. Among the children of aristocratic families, he was one of the best. Of course, whether Chao Yuliang hid his strength or not, logically speaking, had little to do with Xiaoqin. However, a group of fragmented memories reappeared in Xiaoqin's mind, as if they were about to form a complete sequence of events. The somewhat familiar Audi A6L, the Stage 3 inner force expert who pushed him down the cliff, Chao Yuliang's foresight when he returned to school, and the assassin's words of "you also hid your strength." These scenes, which originally had nothing to do with each other, were put together at this moment. It made Xiaoqin think of something. He narrowed his eyes and looked at Chao Yuliang in the private room. Was it him? Xiaoqin was not too sure. On the way to Songlong Mountain Cliff Mouth, Xiaoqin vaguely remembered that there seemed to be an Audi A6L and a taxi driving together. Of course, this was also discovered in the fragmented memories after he became a cultivator and recalled the past. And the car that Chao Yuliang drove today was precisely an Audi A6L. Back then, Xiaoqin had not been able to figure out who it could be. However, Chao Yuliang, who was in front of him, fulfilled this condition. After returning to school, Chao Yuliang actually knew that he jumped off the cliff. How did the taxi driver know about this? When he walked to the cliff mouth, he remembered that the driver had already driven away. That unknown assassin said that he also hid his strength. Obviously, among the people he knew, there should be someone who also hid his strength. So many clues pointed to one person at the same time, that was Chao Yuliang. However, these things were not enough to be conclusive evidence, and Xiaoqin could not determine whether this person was Chao Yuliang or not. Chao Yuliang, if this person is really you, then I'm afraid you will be disappointed. I, Xiaoqin, am no longer the previous Xiaoqin. Thinking of the previous times, if the assassin was sent by Chao Yuliang's people, then Lu Jinming could be said to have helped him several times, and this time it was Lu Jinming who helped him. Lu Jinming, wow, you are really a good person. In the private room, Chao Yuliang was already out of breath from being beaten and could not speak. Lu Jinming, what are you doing? Cheng Minjing also recovered at this time and looked at Lu Jinming with some horror. She did not know why he was crazy and beat up Chao Yuliang as soon as he came in. Minjing, this guy wants to do something bad to you. Don't worry, I will protect you. Lu Jinming patted his chest and said. Chao Yuliang looked at Lu Jinming with resentment. At this moment he finally saw who the person in front of him was. Wasn't this the Lu Jinming who repeatedly opposed him? However, at this moment Chao Yuliang seemed to understand something. This guy, it turns out that he also likes Cheng Menjing. F***CKU, you are from an underworld family, how dare you challenge me, a young master from a formal family? Well, let's wait and see. He wanted to curse, but his cheeks were so swollen that he could not make a sound. Actually, everything happened very fast. It was only a few minutes since Lu Jinming came in and beat up Chao Yuliang. At this time, Qin Jinping pointed at Lu Jinming and shouted at the top of his voice, I don't care who you are. You beat up Child Chao. This is not over. Child Chao? What Child Chao or Child Li? I don't know him. Lu Jinming wanted to act tough for a while, but when he saw Cheng Minjing frown, he suddenly remembered what Jean Beibei had said before. She said that Cheng Minjing did not like the scene of a hero saving a damsel in distress. Thinking of this, Lu Jinming felt that he should stop before going too far. He should save someone without leaving his name, and he should not act tough. That was the only way he could win Cheng Minjing's favor. If he acted like a hero, he was afraid that he would have saved her in vain. Therefore Lu Jinming waved his hand and said, Minjing, it's all right now. I'm leaving. Don't drink the drinks on the table. With that, Lu Jinming quickly led Dong Yu and Dong Shu out of the private room. They came and left in a hurry, not leaving a single cloud behind. Lu Jinming walked out of the room and was a little puzzled when he did not see Xiaoqin. However, when he returned to his room, he saw Xiaoqin waiting for him at the door of the room. Xiaoqin, why are you here? Didn't you see me beating people up just now? Lu Zhiming looked at Xiao Chen with some puzzlement. I say, young Master Lu, do you want to kill me? You went up and beat them up. You are not afraid of them, but I am. If I didn't hide quickly and let him know that I was the one who leaked the information, he would retaliate against me later. Xiao Chen said with a bitter face. That's right. Lu Zhiming nodded after listening. Xiao Chen, don't worry. I will never treat you badly in the future. How about this? You help me monitor him in the future. If that little bastard still wants to do something bad to Menjing, you tell me. I will kill him. Let me monitor him. Xiao Chen looked at Lu Zhiming with some embarrassment. Young Master Lu, it's not that I don't want to help you. With our current relationship, you are protecting me and taking me to make money. I'm actually very grateful to you. But you also know that I sell fried dough sticks every day. I don't have any spare time to pay attention to these things. Lu Zhiming listened to it. This Xiao Chen said for a long time. The main point was that he was short of money. Thinking of this, Lu Zhiming said, how about this? I will give you a sum of investigation funds. How about it? You help me. How much can you give? Asked Xiao Chen after listening. 1 month? How about 100,000 yuan? Asked Lu Zhiming. 100,000 yuan? The asterisk MN, that's too little. If I have that time, I will go and play underground boxing. It will be more than 100,000 yuan. Xiao Chen shook his head and said disdainfully, your work is laborious but not rewarding. You also know that my engagement with the Qing family has been broken off. If I have nothing to do and pay attention to Qing Menjing, the Qing family will think that I still like Qing Menjing. Won't they kill me? No, the risk is too great. This? Lu Zhiming wanted to be angry. Do you think that you can play underground boxing every day? Isn't that my family's money to compensate you? However, when he heard the last sentence, he somewhat understood. Yes, Xiao Chen has nothing to do with Qing Menjing now. If he pays attention to her all day, what if the Qing family finds trouble with him? However, Lu Zhiming was also afraid that other people would do something to Qing Menjing. If the rice was cooked, then wouldn't Lu Zhiming have no chance at all? Thinking of this, Lu Zhiming said, Xiao Chen, wow, you also know that if you want to make a lot of money, it coexists with risks. How can there be so many good things in the world without sowing? How about I give you 200,000 yuan a month? 200,000 yuan is my limit. I don't have much pocket money. All right, then 200,000 yuan. Xiao Chen nodded reluctantly and said, but let me say it first. This is only the investigation fee. If you want me to do something else, it will be more money. Xiao Chen also noticed that Lu Zhiming's pocket money was really not much. He didn't know how he bought the broken bowl before. At this time he could take out 200,000 yuan, which was considered a big loss. Of course, as long as you inform me, I will do the rest. Lu Zhiming said as he patted his chest. Then I will go back first and see how it is over there. Xiao Chen nodded. Give me my investigation fee as soon as possible. Otherwise, if the ruthless person also buys me and gives me more money, I won't be able to hold back and change sides. Okay, no problem. I will give it to you in a few days. Lu Zhiming listened to Xiao Chen's words and was very angry. What the F***ck change sides? What is this? You are an abandoned son of the Xiao family, and you are still so bad *SS? However, Lu Zhiming still didn't dare to say this. He still needed Xiao Chen. If Xiao Chen really changed sides, it would be too late even if he cried. Xiao Chen slowly returned to the Purple Chi Pavilion. Suddenly, he saw Chao Yuliang lying on the ground, and Qin Jinping was continuously searching for something on Chao Yuliang's body. Yangzi? What happened to you? Xiao Chen looked at Chao Yuliang on the ground in horror. You have food poisoning? Why is your face swollen? Woo-woo. Oh. Chao Yuliang saw Xiao Chen and wanted to explain. However, his mouth was so swollen that he couldn't open it. He couldn't say anything at all. Brother-in-law Xiao Yangzi offended someone and was beaten up. Jin Beibei said, just now, Lu Zhiming brought people over and gave him a good beating. What? Lu Zhiming came? He beat up Chao Yuliang? Xiao Chen looked at Chao Yuliang on the ground in puzzlement. I say, Liangzi, how did you offend Lu Zhiming? The two of you shouldn't know each other. Woo-woo. Chao Yuliang was also extremely angry. It's not like I don't know him. However, when this guy came in, he beat me up like crazy. I'm really unlucky. Finally, Qin Jinping found a small medicine bottle on Chao Yuliang's body. He quickly opened it and poured the medicine inside into Chao Yuliang's mouth. After a while, the redness and swelling on Chao Yuliang's face subsided slightly. At least he could speak. Oh, Ming, you wait. Brother Liang, shall we go back now? Qin Jinping asked carefully. Chao Yuliang nodded. It was not suitable for him to take revenge in his current state. It was even more impossible for him to continue playing. Alas, this is so boring. I haven't found a prostitute yet. Jin Beibei was very disappointed. Xiaoliangzi, you're so lousy. You haven't even found a prostitute yet, and you've already withered. Chao Yuliang's face turned red. If it was any other time it would have been fine. But in front of Qing Menjing, he said that he was a coward if he couldn't even handle one. Wouldn't that make Qing Menjing look down on him? If Qing Menjing looked down on him, she would never marry him for her own happiness. Chapter 123. Therefore Chao Yuliang became hot-headed and shouted, "Today, I was beaten up. If it were any other day I wouldn't fall even if there were 3 or 5 of them. Ah, so fierce. Cousin-in-law, can you surpass him?" Jin Beibei turned around and looked at Xiao Qin. Xiao Qin was speechless. "Disgusting. I don't want to see you again." Qing Menjing blushed after hearing that. She glared at Chao Yuliang and turned around, pulling Jin Beibei's hand. "Beibei, let's go home. This place is not fun. Driver, clear the way for me." "Okay." Xiao Qin had been sick of staying here for a long time. He had messed with Chao Yuliang not only because he wanted his mistress to leave this place as soon as possible, but also because he did not expect that there would be an unexpected gain. Although he was not sure that Chao Yuliang was the one who had been trying to set him up, it seemed that he was right. Smart Isha was right. Intelligence was always better. You were a knife that could kill without drawing blood. Where are we going now? Beibei's house? When they came to the parking lot, Xiao Qin suddenly remembered that Jin Beibei's car had been replaced by a Porsche 991 with 2 doors and 2 seats. "Wait for my car. We'll take both cars back," said Jin Beibei. "Pooh." Xiao Qin was dazed for a moment. Then he thought of something and said, "Beibei, you are really mean." Qin Jinping lost another car. "I'm not as mean as my cousin-in-law," Jin Beibei said with a smile. Chao Yuliang was beaten into a pig's head. "Hey, what are you talking about?" Qing Menjing did not understand what they were talking about. She did not know what they were talking about. "Beibei wants to cheat Qin Jinping of another car," said Xiao Qin. "It's my cousin-in-law who found Lu Jinming," said Jin Beibei. "Ah." Qing Menjing finally understood. She was not a black-bellied girl, so she naturally did not think of these things. However, it did not hinder her intelligence. She understood after Xiao Qin and Jin Beibei mentioned it. Sure enough, Jin Beibei was up to no good when she said she wanted to change cars. As for Lu Jinming, how could it be so coincidental that he suddenly appeared in the private room? It was only when Xiao Qin went to the toilet that he appeared. However, seeing that Xiao Qin and Jin Beibei seemed to know each other very well, Qing Menjing felt a bit uncomfortable. "I'm your hostess. Why are you playing with my cousin all the time?" After a while, she saw Qin Jinping supporting Chao Yuliang and limping to the parking lot. Qin Jinping found it strange that Xiao Qin and the rest of them had not left yet. However, he was in a hurry to send Chao Yuliang back and had no time to care what Xiao Qin and the rest of them were doing. He took out the car key in a hurry, opened the door of the Panamera, and helped Chao Yuliang into the car. Qin Jingxian, on the other hand, followed them from a distance. Seeing Qing Menjing, she was about to greet her when she saw Jin Beibei making a phone call. "Hello, Grandpa. This is Beibei." Jin Beibei picked up the phone and put it next to her ear. She continued speaking loudly, "Yes, yes. Let's go back now. However, my car is lost again. It seems to be driven by Qin Jinping." "What? Grandpa, you have to come." Holy *T. Qin Jinping, who was about to help Chao Yuliang into the car, suddenly staggered and almost fell to the ground. However, he did not. His hand shook and fell on Chao Yuliang's butt. He couldn't have looked more wretched. With hatred in his eyes, Qin Jinping looked at Jin Beibei not far away. However, after careful consideration, he decided not to change cars with Jin Beibei. Gnashing his teeth, he picked up the car key and walked close, saying to Jin Beibei, "I don't want to change cars anymore." Looking at Qin Jinping, Jin Beibei hummed with a smile, "You can't change Jin Beibei's things just because you want to. I don't want it anymore." Qin Jinping was worried about Chao Yuliang's wounds. Taking a deep breath, he slapped the Panamera's car key on the cover of the Porsche 991. "I can't mess with them, but I can hide from them. Bye-bye." Jin Beibei picked up the car key and waved at Qin Jinping. Qin Jinping was so angry that smoke was rising from his nostrils and nose. Had he not been worried about Chao Yuliang, he would have spoken to Jin Beibei today before Gold Fur Lion arrived. "Jingxian, let's get in the car." Qin Jinping walked to Qiao Yuliang's Audi A6L. Thankfully there was still another car. No, I'll call a taxi myself. You can drive Qiao Yuliang home. Qin Jingxian shook her head. Although she was still smiling, she seemed to be a lot more distant from Qin Jinping. It was obvious that she hated Qin Jinping. Well, okay. Qin Jinping naturally sensed it too. However, he could not ignore Qiao Yuliang. He could only ask Qin Jingxian about it another day. Helping Qiao Yuliang into his Audi A6L, Qin Jinping hurried to get in the car and left quickly. Jingxian, why don't you ask Xiao Qin to drive you home? Seeing that Qin Jingxian was going back alone, Qing Menjing was somewhat worried. Qin Jingxian was a pretty girl. What if she ran into some hooligans when she went out to call a taxi on such a busy street at such a late hour? There were crooks and honest folk mixed together in this area. There's no need to go through so much trouble. Qin Jingxian walked over and smiled as gently as before. Xiao Qin had once been obsessed with that smile. Time had passed and Xiao Qin now only had appreciation for it. As the two of them drifted apart, their attitudes changed too. Why not? And it's not troublesome at all. Qin Jingxian was Qing Menjing's best friend. Apart from Jin Beibei, Qing Menjing had the best relationship with her. How could she not worry about her? She glanced at Xiao Qin and said, "Hey Xiao Qin, can you help me take Jingxian home? Is there a problem?" No. Xiao Qin smiled bitterly and thought, how dare I say there is a problem? Okay, you drive the Panamera. Beibei and I will go to Grandpa Jin's home first. You can come by yourself then. Qing Menjing ordered. Okay, but what's the address? Xiao Qin had never been to Jin's home. There's a navigation system in the car. Beibei has already set it up. You just need to find home at the address. Qing Menjing said. Got it. Xiao Qin nodded. He took the key of the Panamera and nodded to Qin Jingxian. His eyes were no longer infatuated with her. He just said lightly, Beauty Jingxian, get in the car. Qin Jingxian was stunned. Although Xiao Qin called her Beauty Jingxian, the way Xiao Qin looked at her was completely different from before, which made Qin Jingxian feel strange. How could a playboy change so much in such a short time? Of course, in fact, Xiao Qin wasn't so superficial before. He just wanted to make himself look more stupid, so he deliberately had that expression. Xiao Qin liked Qin Jingxian. It wasn't fake. A graceful lady was a gentleman's desire. However, at that time Xiao Qin still had some fantasies. He thought that if the Xin family and the Xiao family cooperated, would he still have a chance? Although Qin Jingshuan's Xin family was powerful, it wasn't the case in Songning City. If the Xin family wanted to expand their connections and power here, they must cooperate with the families here. At that time Xiao Qin thought that if the Xin family and the Xiao family cooperated, would he have a chance? After all, Qing Menjing and Qin Jingxian were bosom friends. It wasn't uncommon for the children of aristocratic families to attack bosom friends. Xiao Qin thought he understood these things at that time. But now Xiao Qin felt that he might have been a little into the role of a playboy at that time. No matter what, Qin Jingxian was the young lady of the Xin family. How could she follow him without a title? He wasn't a strong man. Xiao Qin opened the car door for Qin Jingxian in a gentlemanly manner, but he wasn't as attentive as Qin Jinping, which made Qin Jingxian feel a little strange. She couldn't help but look at Xiao Qin a few more times. After getting in the car, Xiao Qin started the car and didn't talk to Qin Jingxian again. Instead, he drove the car directly out of the parking lot. Do you know where my home is? Qin Jingxian couldn't help but ask curiously. Xiao Qin used to be a student of No. 1 middle school, so he should know. It was very late today, and the dormitory building of No. 1 middle school was already closed. If Qin Jingxian didn't show her identity as the young lady of the Qin family, she could only go home to stay. But Qin Jingxian rarely used this identity. Oh, so you want to go home? I thought you were going back to school. Xiao Qin used to go back to school very late, but as long as he said his name as the young master of the Xiao family, the guard would quickly open the door for him. It was the same for Qin Jingxian, but he didn't expect that Qin Jingxian wanted to go home. What a good child. However, Xiao Qin also knew about Qin Jingshuan's home. My family also knows. I used to be obsessed with you for a while, so I also investigated your home address, hobbies, height, 3 measurements, and so on. Ah? Qin Jingxian looked at Xiao Qin in shock. She didn't expect that Xiao Qin would say it so naturally. He even said that he was infatuated with her. She thought that he would be secretive about it. However, forget about the address, he even investigated her 3 measurements? Of course I didn't find out. Xiao Qin smiled. Who, you scared me. Qin Jingxian patted her chest. She was just thinking about who exposed her information. Qing Minjing was probably the only one who knew. However, Qing Minjing obviously wouldn't tell Xiao Qin. Xin Jingshuan's words made Xiao Qin stunned. In the past, when he saw Xin Jingxian, she always had a gentle look, and the speed of her speech was not too fast or too slow. It made people feel like they were bathing in the spring breeze. He had never heard such a little woman's tone. When Xin Jingxian saw that Xiao Qin didn't speak, she also realized the problem with her words just now. She couldn't help but smile and say, "I am a normal girl. Of course there are times when I am surprised." But this time her speed of speech returned to normal. It was warm and soft. "It seems that I am quite honored." Xiao Qin nodded. If it were before, when Xin Jingxian said this to him, he would be very proud, but now everything seemed to have become indifferent. "Yes, it is your honor to let you see this lady speak like this." Xin Jingxian was playful. She imitated Qing Minjing's tone and said to Xiao Qin. Chapter 124. Ha! Xiao Qin suddenly laughed out loud. "You don't say, it's really similar. They are indeed best friends. Even their voices and expressions are very similar. Xiao Qin, to be honest, I really didn't expect you to become like this one day." Xin Jingxian put away her previous joking expression and said solemnly to Xiao Qin, "If you were like this before, maybe Minjing wouldn't hate you so much." "It's the same. It doesn't matter." Xiao Qin shrugged. "Now I'm eating and drinking under the big sister. I just have to make her happy." "You can do it. There will be a day when the Diao silk also makes a comeback," Xin Jingxian said with a smile. He didn't know why, but when Xin Jingxian said the words, "Diao silk," in this tone, Xiao Qin felt a little strange. He had never heard Xin Jingxian say such words before. But thinking about it, he didn't have contact with Qing Minjing in the past. It was impossible for him to imagine that Qing Minjing had such a tsundere side. Only after being in contact for a long time will one discover the true side? Does it mean that behind every goddess, there is a man who has ked her until she wants to vomit? Xiao Qin shook his head. "I won't vomit, right?" The Panamera was a sports car. Xiao Qin's speed was very fast. There weren't many cars on the road at night, so they soon arrived at the Xin family's residence in Songning City. Xin Jingxian was also quite surprised that Xiao Qin didn't delay the time to talk to her on the way. Didn't Xiao Qin always find an excuse to talk to me? It was really difficult for her to overlap the current Xiao Qin with the previous Xiao Qin. They were completely different people. "I'm leaving, Xiao Qin, thank you for sending me off." Xin Jingxian unfastened her seat belt, pushed the car door open, and waved her hand to Xiao Qin as she said softly, "Well, give Miss a call so that she won't worry." Xiao Qin nodded. "Okay." Xin Jingxian was stunned and then nodded. Xiao Qin seemed to be very concerned about Qing Minjing. Or was it because Qing Minjing was his mistress? Xiao Qin didn't say anything else. He didn't even have a trace of reluctance. He started the car and left the Xin family's residence with a beautiful drift. Xin Jingxian looked at Xiao Qin's car quietly and shook her head. "Xianxian, did Jinping send you back?" Xin Jinghao heard the sound of the car in the courtyard and walked out of the villa. She saw her daughter standing at the door of the courtyard, watching a car leave. "Jinping?" Xin Jingxian was slightly stunned, then she shook her head and said, "No, it was Minjing." Xin Jingxian didn't expect that she would lie, but she felt that it was natural to lie. She was afraid that if she said it was Xiao Qin, it would implicate Xiao Qin. "Oh, where's Jinping?" Xin Jinghao nodded and asked without the slightest doubt. "Chao Yuliang was beaten up today. Qin Jinping sent him back," Xin Jingxian said. "The Chao family's Chao Yuliang? Who dares to beat him?" Xin Jinghao was slightly stunned. "It's the Lu family's Lu Jinming." Xin Jingxian didn't care much about these things. Who knows why? Lu family? Xin Jinghao shook his head. He didn't understand why an underworld family dared to be so arrogant now. Could it be that the Lu family found something to rely on? Forget it. Right, Xianxian, how are you getting along with Jinping recently? Can you get engaged to him? Xin Jinghao asked. With him? Let's wait first. I think he is a bit unreliable. Xin Jingxian shook her head slightly and said, I don't like him. Jingxian, we are the children of big families. How can there be true love? You have to think about your brother. He is not the only heir in the Xin family. If we can't make some achievements in Songning City and bring help to your brother, how can he stand out? Xin Jinghao smiled bitterly. Although the Qin family is not big, they are also the local tyrant in Songning City. If we want to develop here, we must unite with them. Oh. Xin Jingxian flattened her mouth. When she thought of her brother, she stopped talking. She loved her brother very much. For her brother, she could marry someone she didn't like. This was the fate of a woman from a big family. Cousin Minjing, why did you ask your cousin-in-law to send Sister Jingxian home? Aren't you afraid that they will rekindle their old love? Jean Bebe was driving the Porsche 991. She was very excited. She had never driven such a good sports car before. Rekindle their old love? Bebe, what are you talking about? How can Jingxian fall in love with Xiaoqin? Cheng Minjing said disdainfully. That's not necessarily true. The current cousin-in-law is not the same as before. Not only is he powerful, but he is also as smart as me. Besides, he can change his shape. He can cook, cure, and sleep with me. Aha, he is simply an all-rounder. Jean Bebe said excitedly. Since you admire him so much, you should marry him. Cheng Minjing frowned. Why did she feel that Jean Bebe seemed to be in love? When she was with this girl in the past, she basically never talked about men. Even if she mentioned it occasionally, it was to prank someone. Well, my grandpa does hope that, but I can't compete with you, cousin Minjing, Jean Bebe said. Cheng Minjing was a bit puzzled after hearing that. Why did Master Jean fall in love with Xiaoqin? Was it just because Xiaoqin and Jean Bebe got along well? Or was it because Xiaoqin could cure diseases? I don't want it. You can have it, Cheng Minjing said. It's a pity that my cousin-in-law doesn't like me, Jean Bebe said regretfully. If you like him, he would love to marry you. Cheng Minjing snorted. That's not necessarily true. I'm not a goddess. I don't have a good temperament like you, cousin Minjing. Jean Bebe held her breasts with her hands and said, My breasts are the only advantage I have. I wonder if my cousin-in-law likes boobs. Jean Bebe's words made Cheng Minjing somewhat happy. I'm the goddess. It's just that Xiaoqin is a blind man who can't see how good I am. Bebe can see it. Xiaoqin's car was fast. Although he had played with cars before, it had been difficult for him to keep the speed at such a high speed. Although there were not many cars on the street at night, it was still a street, and the performance of a sports car could not be maximized. However, today Xiaoqin discovered that he could do it. Traveling in the traffic, Xiaoqin could do it easily. He was almost one with the car. The 6 senses of a cultivator had been enhanced, allowing Xiaoqin to execute every movement skillfully and flawlessly. Previously, Xiaoqin had seen movements in racing videos, but he had never been able to execute them. Now Xiaoqin could easily execute them. Just like cooking with fried dough sticks, if Xiaoqin were to take part in a race right now, it would not be a problem for him to win the first place. What an awesome cultivator. In fact, what Xiaoqin did not know was that it would not be difficult for him to win the first place with his driving skills. As long as he practiced a few more times, he would almost be a god of racing. Jean Bebe was driving when she suddenly discovered that somebody was blinking at her with the headlights behind her. She was immediately infuriated. She was about to take a closer look when a red Porsche 991 drove past her quickly and overtook her instantly, parking on the side of the road. The plate number of the red Porsche 991 was TPC 991. It was one of the best plates too. PC could be the abbreviation of sports car or the abbreviation of Porsche, the English logo of Porsche. With the plate number of 991, it was almost invincible. Only Qin Jinping's family could have auctioned such an awesome plate number. Holy sh*T. Why is my cousin-in-law here so soon? Didn't he go to send Sister Jingxian home? Did he leave Sister Jingxian on the side of the road? Jean Bebe looked at the car in front of her in surprise. It was Qin Jinping's car. Cheng Minjing frowned suspiciously after hearing Jean Bebe's words too. Are you serious? Isn't Xiaoqin in love with Jingxian? It would be great if he didn't send her home and dawdled a little longer on the way. How could he be so fast? It's hard to say. I don't think my cousin-in-law is so shallow. Jean Bebe shook her head. Cousin Minjing, have you ever dissed my cousin-in-law before? Why do I feel that he is a completely different person from what you described him to be? Cheng Minjing was rendered speechless. In fact, she felt that Xiaoqin was a different person from what she remembered too. Jean Bebe parked the car behind Xiaoqin's Porsche 991 and then got out of the car. She happened to see Xiaoqin also open the door and get out of the car. Cheng Minjing ran over and looked into the car, trying to see where Xin Jingxian was. However, she didn't find Xin Jingxian. She was a little anxious. She put her hands on her waist and questioned, Hey Xiaoqin, where did you take Jingxian? I sent her home. Xiaoqin was stunned, not knowing why the eldest miss was mad again. Did he come back too late? But it was already very fast. Send her home? Cheng Minjing looked at Xiaoqin suspiciously. You came back in such a short time? This car is fast. Xiaoqin said, I used to go racing so I drove fast. Oh. Qing Minjing nodded. She believed Xiao Chen's words. She had heard that Xiao Chen played with cars before. On the other hand, Jean Bebe looked at Xiao Chen in surprise, but she did not say anything. The two cars set off from the Wonderland of Dreams at the same time. Xiao Chen went to the Shin family's residence and then caught up with them. It was not as simple as racing. He was like a robot. Let's go to Bebe's home. Do you want to take my car or Bebe's? Xiao Chen asked. I won't take your car. I will be scared to death if you drive so fast. Qing Minjing snorted and got into Jean Bebe's car. I want to take my brother-in-law's car, Jean Bebe said. Bebe. Qing Minjing shouted with a gloomy face. Although she could also drive, she didn't know how to control a sports car. She was afraid of hitting it if it was too fast. Oh, then I'd better be cousin Minjing's driver. Jean Bebe closed the door of the Panamera and returned to the Porsche 991. Chapter 125. This time Xiao Chen also drove at a normal speed. The two cars drove to the Jean family's villa one after another. The Jean family was a relatively weak family among all the well-known families. Old Master Jean did not have much business sense. There were no other good businesses in the family either. They only managed a few medium-sized businesses, which were enough to support the whole family. However, compared with other well-known families, the Jean family was quite poor. Therefore, the Jean family's villa was not very large. It was not as beautiful as those well-known families. The Jean family was just located on the roadside in the suburbs, which was not very eye-catching. Jean Bebe's two cars were probably the best cars in the Jean family. Even old Master Jin's car was just a Wrangler. The arrival of the two luxury cars at the same time immediately attracted the attention of the Jean family. A man who looked similar to Jean Bebe and was about 20 years old walked over. When he saw Jean Bebe, he said happily, Bebe, you've brought your friends back. Brother, it's my cousin and cousin-in-law. Jean Bebe said. Cousin? Cousin-in-law? Jean Baobao was stunned. Although he knew Qing Minjing and Qing Minjing was Jean Bebe's cousin, he did not know who her cousin-in-law was. He wondered which of Jean Bebe's cousins was married? Cousin. Qing Minjing got out of the car and nodded at Jean Baobao. Although Jean Baobao was Jean Bebe's cousin, it was not wrong for Qing Minjing to call him cousin. In a big family they were all relatives more or less. It's cousin Minjing. Jean Baobao looked at the Panamera. However, when he saw Xiao Chen getting out of the car, he was extremely surprised. If it were before, he would not have felt anything wrong. But now, the Qing family and the Xiao family had broken off the engagement, hadn't they? Why was Xiao Chen still Qing Minjing's fiancé? Moreover, Bebe even called him cousin-in-law? This must be a very close relationship. Cousin, don't listen to Bebe's nonsense. There's nothing between me and Xiao Chen. She's just calling me that. Qing Minjing hurriedly explained when she saw Jean Baobao's astonished expression. All right. Jean Baobao scratched his head. He knew his sister's character, so he was not too surprised. He could only nod politely to Xiao Chen. Brother Xiao, welcome to the Jean family. Jean Baobao's friendliness surprised Xiao Chen. He didn't expect that Jean Baobao would still be so polite after he was kicked out of the Xiao family. Of course, Lu Jinming, Yu Xiaochuan, and the others were also very polite, but Xiao Chen couldn't tell if they were really polite or not. Jean Baobao didn't have too much arrogance. He was just easygoing, not like the Jean family's weird people. It seemed that Jean Bebe was the only one who had inherited Master Jin's character. Brother Bao. Xiao Chen nodded to him. You're welcome. Please come in. I'll ask someone to serve you tea. Jean Baobao made a gesture of invitation. Brother, you're not needed here. You can go and ask Grandpa to come out. Jean Bebe said to Jean Baobao. Call Grandpa? Jean Baobao was slightly dazed. He looked at Jean Bebe in confusion. Well, although cousin Minjing and brother Xiao are both distinguished guests, it's not necessary for Grandpa to welcome them in person, is it? In Jean Baobao's opinion, it was a visit between the younger generation. How could the master of the family come out to welcome them? He dared not bother Master Jean for such a trivial matter. Even if he was not beaten, he would be scolded. Jean Baobao was quite scared. Brother, just go. Grandpa likes my brother-in-law very much. He even wants me to marry him. Chances are that he will be your brother-in-law in the future. As Jean Bebe spoke, she suddenly noticed that Qing Minjing's face was not quite right. Therefore she hurried to say, he is my brother-in-law. However, after she finished her sentence, Qing Minjing's face became even more awkward. Bebe, you're a girl. Don't always joke about such things. I used to be Xiao Chen's fiancé. It's fine if I joke about it. but you are going to get married in the future. What if people think that you have a bad reputation because you used to be in a relationship with Xiaochen? In that case, I will have to be my brother-in-law's mistress. Jin Beibei said indifferently. Cheng Minjing felt that it was impossible to communicate with Jin Beibei. Jin Beibei's theory was infuriating. Although Jin Baobao did not quite believe what Jin Beibei said, seeing that Jin Beibei was so confident, he simply nodded. He was going to tell his grandpa that Cheng Minjing and Xiaochen had come. As for whether or not his grandpa would come out to welcome them, it would be his own business. After nodding, Jin Baobao quickly walked to the room where Old Master Jin was cultivating. At this time Old Master Jin was always cultivating. At the door of the room Jin Baobao knocked on the door carefully. Which little b** is knocking on the door? Don't you know that I cultivate every day at this time? Old Master Jin's angry voice came from the room. After a while the door was opened with a clang. Jin Baobao stepped back subconsciously and looked at Old Master Jin with a little fear. Jin Baobao, it's you. Old Master Jin widened his eyes and scolded, what's so important about you? If you can't tell me, I will hang you up and whip you today. Oh, Grandpa Beibei is back. Jin Baobao said carefully. In the past, when Old Master Jin was angry, as long as he mentioned Jin Beibei, everything would be fine. As expected, Old Master Jin's face softened a little. He nodded and said, Beibei is back. What's the matter? Beibei came with cousin Minjing and brother Xiaochen from the Xiao family. Jin Baobao said. What? Xiaochen is here? Old Master Jin's face immediately showed a look of excitement and expectation. He quickly pushed Jin Baobao away and strode to the reception room. As he walked he said, you little b****, why didn't you tell me that Xiaochen is here? Jin Baobao was a little speechless. Jin Beibei was right. Grandpa was so anxious and excited when he heard that Xiaochen was here. However, Jin Baobao was also relieved after being scolded. Fortunately, he was not beaten. Thinking of this, he quickly followed them. As soon as Xiaochen and Cheng Minjing sat down, Old Master Jin's voice came, my little friend Xiaochen, are you here to treat my illness today? After the voice, Old Master Jin also walked in. Grandpa Jin, I'm here today to treat your illness. I promised you before, so I must keep my promise. Xiaochen nodded and said, here is a precious medicinal material. You can ask the servants to brew it for you. It will only take 3 hours. Okay. Old Master Jin carefully took the bag that Xiaochen handed over and then handed it to Jin Baobao behind him. He said, you go and brew it for 3 hours. Don't spoil it. Yes, Grandpa. Jin Baobao was obviously a coolie in the Jin family. His treatment was completely different from Jin Beibei's. Don't throw away the dregs after brewing. You can continue brewing it for about 20 times. They are all good medicines for treating injuries. This was what Elder Heaven Ancestor had told Xiaochen. Therefore Xiaochen reminded him. Although it was only a small part of the dregs, it was bought by Xiaochen with money. It can be used so many times? How many times do I need to take it? Old Master Jin was very surprised after hearing that. Once for the target and twice for the root cause. Xiaochen stretched out 2 fingers and said, 2 times is enough. That's amazing. Old Master Jin began to doubt whether what he said was true or not. If he didn't think that Xiaochen would lie to him about such a thing, Old Master Jin would have thought that Xiaochen was a swindler. After all, Old Master Jin had been to many hospitals. Although the Jin family was poor, they still had connections. Some big hospitals said that they couldn't do anything about it. How could Xiaochen cure it? However, if Xiaochen lied, it would not do him any good at all. Not only would he be hated by Jin Beibei, but he might also be driven out of the villa by Cheng Minjing. In that case he would be shooting himself in the foot. Of course, I'm just estimating. If it doesn't work, I can drink it 3 or 4 times. Don't blame me, Old Master Jin. However, 3 or 4 times is definitely not a problem. Xiaochen did not make any promises. After all, it was Elder Heaven Ancestor who said that twice. What if it was not accurate? T, you damn brat. You don't believe me? Elder Heaven Ancestor's voice rang in Xiaochen's ears. Oh, isn't this the first time that I practice medicine without a license? Chapter 126. In his opinion, the possibility of Xiaochen lying was not high. However, it was hard to say how effective it would be. It might be effective, but it would not be that effective. Thank you, Grandpa Jin. Xiaochen did not think it was a big deal. 3 hours. Only a dozen minutes have passed. Let Beibei show you around the Jin family's courtyard. You can familiarize yourself with it. Come here often in the future, Old Master Jean said. Okay. Xiaochen had nothing to do anyway, so he nodded. It was not the first time for Qing Minjing to come to the Jean family's residence. She used to come here when she was a child, so she couldn't be more familiar with the place. However, it was the first time for Xiaochen to come here. Although the Jean family's residence was not very big, it had a rustic style. In the courtyard, various plants, vegetables and fruits were planted everywhere. It could be seen that Old Master Jean preferred the rustic style. Cousin-in-law, these cherries are delicious. Jean Bebe pointed at the cherries on the tree when they passed by a cherry tree. Really? I'm going to have a taste. Xiaochen picked a few cherries casually and stuffed them into his mouth. It was impossible to use pesticides in the Jean family's residence, so he did not need to wash them. It's okay. It's just a little sour. Cousin-in-law, you didn't pick them well. This Bebe is experienced. As Jean Bebe spoke, she picked a big cherry from a cherry tree slightly further away and put it to Xiaochen's mouth. Cousin-in-law, have a taste of Bebe's cherries? Xiaochen was slightly stunned. Looking at the cherries in Jean Bebe's hand and then at her breasts, he began to imagine. It would be great if Jean Bebe could give it to me to play with. Xiaochen, what are you thinking about? Xiaochen hurriedly put these messy thoughts aside and swallowed the cherries in Jean Bebe's hand. However, the cherries were much more delicious than those Xiaochen had picked for himself. They were sweet and sour, very delicious. Bebe's cherries are still delicious. Xiaochen nodded and said. Right? Bebe said that Bebe's cherries are delicious. Jean Bebe nodded. Qing Minjing was speechless at the disgusting actions of the two people in front of her. What kind of people are they? It wasn't easy for Jean Bebe to find someone like her? How did I get Xiaochen back? He wasn't like this before. Or was the previous Xiaochen in disguise? Or was the current Xiaochen in disguise? Or was he schizophrenic? Oh my god, it's so scary. Qing Minjing felt scared just thinking about it. However, on second thought, Xiaochen had always been quite normal. Could it be that he had become a different person after experiencing a huge change? This was also the most reasonable explanation. Hey Xiaochen, I want to eat too. Seeing that Xiaochen and Jean Bebe were enjoying themselves, Qing Minjing suddenly felt a little hungry. She ordered Xiaochen. Hee okay. Imitating Jean Bebe, Xiaochen went to the woods inside and picked some cherries. However, since they were for the first lady, he could not do it so casually. Xiaochen wiped the cherries carefully with his hands. However, when Xiaochen rubbed the cherries back and forth with his hands, he instilled a bit of the spiritual energy of heaven and earth into the cherries unnaturally. With Xiaochen's capability, it was impossible for him not to leak any of his spiritual energy. However, Xiaochen had not run into any other cultivators yet. Therefore, he did not need to worry that anyone would discover anything. Done. Imitating Jean Bebe, Xiaochen raised the cherries to Qing Minjing's mouth. Qing Minjing was slightly dazed, but she still bit the cherries carefully and put them into her mouth. After living with Xiaochen for a long time, Qing Minjing's immunity to Xiaochen had dropped. For example, Qing Minjing could accept feeding her food now. Otherwise, if it were before, how could a guy feed her food in such a way? How intimate must they be? Huh. Qing Minjing bit open the skin of the cherries, only to discover that the flesh of the cherries was fresh, juicy, and delicious. It was even more delicious than the cherries that she had eaten during her previous visits. Also, it was not only twice but also 10 times, 100 times better. Qing Minjing was quite surprised. Was it because the cherries were not ripe? But that was not right. The cherry tree had been here for many years. Qing Minjing almost came here to eat cherries every year, but they were not as delicious as this. Qing Minjing enjoyed the taste of the cherries very much. Wow, they are so lovey-dovey. Cousin Minjing, cousin-in-law fed you cherries. You are so intoxicated. Jean Bebe giggled and shouted. Oh. Qing Minjing blushed immediately. She was indeed intoxicated, but it was because the cherries were too delicious. How could it be that Xiaochen fed her cherries? Qing Minjing hurriedly explained, Bebe, didn't you notice that the cherries today are especially delicious? Yes, cousin-in-law fed them. Of course they are delicious. Jean Bebe nodded. Qing Minjing glared at her and was a little embarrassed. She said to Xiaochen, Give them to me. I will eat them myself. It's nothing. Bebe likes to talk nonsense. Okay. Xiaochen gave the remaining cherries to Qing Minjing. Qing Minjing picked one up eagerly. She wiped it with her hand and put it into her mouth. But she frowned the moment she ate it. It didn't taste right. Although it couldn't be said that the cherries weren't delicious, they were worlds apart from the previous cherries. After eating the previous delicious cherries, this cherry was simply unappetizing. Cheng Minjing swallowed it reluctantly. Then she picked up another one. However, it tasted even worse than before. Cheng Minjing spat it out immediately and ate another one. The result was not any better. It was not as delicious as before. That's not right. Why are they not as delicious as before? Cheng Minjing looked at the cherries in her hand curiously. They all looked the same. Because cousin-in-law fed them just now. That's why they are delicious. Jean Bebe said with a smile. How is that possible? Do you think I'm as stupid as you? Do you think all the nutrition is stored in my chest? Cheng Minjing naturally didn't believe Jean Bebe's explanation. As for Xiaoqin, he was also very puzzled. Could it be that the cherry had mutated? Cheng Minjing ate a few more cherries. She didn't even have the courage to continue eating them. They were too disgusting. Are they so disgusting? Jean Bebe was also curious. She picked up a cherry in Cheng Minjing's hand and put it into her mouth. But after she ate it, her expression was quite normal. They are the same. There is no difference from usual. Cheng Minjing knew there was no difference. But the cherries just now were really delicious. Cheng Minjing had never eaten such delicious cherries in her life. They are really different. Jean Bebe thought for a while and said, well, maybe cousin-in-law made them more delicious for you. Well, Cheng Minjing wanted to say that it was impossible. But after thinking for a while, she realized that this was the only difference. Therefore she decided to give it a try. Hey Xiaoqin, feed me another one. You're my servant. It's normal for you to serve me. Okay. Xiaoqin took back a cherry from the eldest Miss' hand, wiped it clean and put it into her mouth. However, he was enjoying it very much in his heart. If this little cherry mouth ate something else, would it be even more enjoyable? And he was thinking too much again. What? After eating the cherry, Cheng Minjing looked at Xiaoqin in shock. It was indeed different. That rare taste had returned. It was still as fresh and delicious as before, just like the cherry at the very beginning. After eating it, Cheng Minjing said to Xiaoqin hurriedly, Xiaoqin, I want more. Xiaoqin picked up another one, wiped it clean and fed it to the eldest Mississippi. He was a little puzzled. What's wrong with Cheng Minjing today? Why does she like me feeding her cherries? Xiaoqin wouldn't believe that Cheng Minjing liked him. Well, I want more. Don't stop. Go on. Cheng Minjing shouted anxiously when she saw Xiaoqin stop after feeding her another one. Xiaoqin picked up another one, wiped it clean and fed it to the eldest Mississippi. After eating it, the eldest miss was a little unhappy. I told you not to stop. Hurry up. I want more. I want more. Xiaoqin took a deep breath. The eldest Miss's voice was very pleasant. Her words made his imagination run wild. However, he was just thinking about it. Wow, cousin Minjing, I didn't expect you to be such a bold and unrestrained girl. If I didn't know better, I would think that you were having sex with my cousin-in-law in the woods. Jean Bebe looked at Cheng Minjing weirdly. You didn't mean to seduce my cousin-in-law, did you? Otherwise, why did he feed you so delicious? Why did you make such an alluring sound? Bebe, you can try it if you don't believe me. Cheng Minjing blushed and did not know how to explain. However, she would know how delicious it was if she asked Xiaoqin to feed her one. I'll give it a try and see how delicious my cousin-in-law is. Jean Bebe nodded with a smile. Before, my cousin-in-law was feeding me very delicious too. Jean Bebe was teasing Cheng Minjing when a cherry entered her mouth. She was more or less dumbfounded. Did such delicious cherries grow on her own cherry tree? It must be noted that Jean Bebe had been eating cherries since she was a little girl. She knew very well what they tasted like, but the taste in her mouth today had completely overturned her memory. Looking at Jean Bebe's shocked face, Cheng Minjing was rather proud. How about it? I was right, wasn't I? Was what Xiaoqin fed you different? It's impossible. It's impossible. How could it be? It doesn't make sense. Jean Bebe, however, shook her head. Right. It must be because Bebe likes my cousin-in-law. That's why there is a bonus of mental enjoyment. Cousin Minjing likes my cousin-in-law too. That's right. That must be it. However, why does Bebe and my cousin like the same man? What should I do? Pooh. Cheng Minjing glared at Jean Bebe, somewhat lost for words. Hey Bebe, are you alright? What bonus of mental enjoyment? It's impossible for me to like him. I don't have any bonus. Delicious means delicious. Chapter 127. Jean Bebe shook her head and said, That's right. Even if there is a bonus, it can't be that delicious. When my cousin-in-law fed Bebe lobsters and abalones before, there was not such a big difference. There was only a little bonus. Looking at Jean Beibei, Cheng Minjing suddenly asked, Beibei, it seems that you like Xiao Chen, don't you? Oh, I just think that my cousin-in-law is not bad. I don't really like him, Jean Beibei said in a hurry. All right. It's been almost 2 hours. Let's go back. Cheng Minjing had eaten a lot of cherries and was almost done. Even the most delicious food could not be eaten all the time. Oh, but I haven't had enough yet. Cousin Minjing was the one eating all the cherries before. Jean Beibei said, somewhat wronged. This cherry tree belongs to your family. You can eat it whenever you want. Do you have to eat it now? Cheng Minjing said angrily. That's different. My cousin-in-law is not always here. Jean Beibei said, somewhat wronged. You ate so many just now and I only had one, okay? Well, Cheng Minjing was somewhat puzzled too. Why was the cherries fed by Xiao Qin so delicious? Did Xiao Qin have some magical energy on his hands? She thought for a moment and found it unlikely. Therefore she said, you are just imagining things. Cousin Minjing is so mean. You are such a bully. It's obviously different. Jean Beibei felt even more wronged. All right. Xiao Qin, go and pick some cherries. Then let's go back. You can feed Beibei on the way back. Cheng Minjing said helplessly. Okay. Jean Beibei was delighted again. Xiao Qin picked some cherries. Then he fed Jean Beibei on the way back. Jean Beibei was enjoying the cherries very much. The three of them returned to the living room. When old Master Jean saw Xiao Qin feeding Jean Beibei cherries, he also widened his eyes and became more certain that his granddaughter must be interested in Xiao Qin. Otherwise, how could she be so obedient and let Xiao Qin feed her cherries? At this time, Jean Baobao walked in with the decocted medicine. When he saw Xiao Qin and his sister, he was shocked. Jean Beibei's marriage had always been a headache for the Jean family. Firstly, how many of them would really dare to ask for Jean Beibei's hand? Secondly, Jean Beibei herself would not agree. If it was an ordinary family, who could stand Jean Beibei's anger? On the other hand, Jean Beibei would feel wronged if she married an ordinary person. Would she be willing to do that? Therefore, the matter had been put aside for the time being. Seeing that Jean Beibei and Xiao Qin were so close to each other, Jean Baobao finally understood why his grandpa trusted and valued Xiao Qin so much. So he wanted to choose a grandson-in-law. Otherwise, he would not be afraid that something would go wrong if he brewed the dregs of the medicine. Delicious. Jean Beibei was enjoying the cherries. Old Master Jean, on the other hand, shook his head with a smile. The cherries belonged to the Jean family. Jean Beibei ate them all the time, but she had never enjoyed them so much. It seemed that this Xiao Qin was not an ordinary person. Beibei, are the cherries so delicious? All right, let's eat them later. Ask Xiao Qin to come here and teach Grandpa how to take the medicine. Old Master Jean said to Jean Beibei. Okay. Jean Beibei nodded reluctantly and said, Cousin-in-law, give all the cherries to Beibei. Beibei can eat them herself. Okay. Xiao Qin put the remaining cherries in Jean Beibei's hand. Then he took the medicine from Jean Baobao and sniffed it. Although the smell was not as strong as before, it should still be good. Therefore he said, Grandpa Jean, you can drink it in one go later. Then go to the yard and practice a set of martial arts. That will be enough. Okay. Old Master Jean took the medicine and drank it all up. Originally, Old Master Jean did not have much hope. He treated Xiao Qin well because of his granddaughter, Jean Beibei. However, after he drank the medicine, he felt that something was wrong. A stream of warmth immediately spread from his abdomen to his whole body. The heat made him feel that his blood was boiling and his energy was vigorous. It seemed that he would feel uncomfortable if he did not use the strength in his body. He hurried to walk out of the parlor and went outside. Then he started to exercise quickly. Jean Beibei ate a cherry, but she spat it out as soon as she swallowed it. It tasted terrible. It was not the same taste at all. Jean Beibei's father, Jean Zonghai, was the second son of the Jean family. Currently, he ran several stores in Songning City. However, he did not have the core production technology and sold the products of others. Therefore, the profit was very limited. Every year, he could barely maintain the operation of the Jean family. It was impossible for him to expand the Jean family. He mainly controlled a few chain noodle restaurants, a few chain pharmacies, and a few chain clothing stores. Currently, he was the agent of the products of other companies. As soon as he got home, he heard the sound of martial arts training in the yard. When he walked closer, he was stunned. Isn't that my father? What are you? Jean Zonghai looked at golden-haired Lion King in confusion. Old Master Jean had his own training room. Normally, he would not practice in the yard of the villa, let alone at the door of the parlor. However, he was different today. Comfortable. So comfortable. I haven't felt so comfortable for many years. The golden fur lion king laughed out loud as he punched. Although the injury on his waist was burning hot, it was especially comfortable. It was like cupping, painful and happy at the same time. Question mark. Jin Zonghai's eyes widened. Dad, what are you doing? Ah. You have a good daughter and brought home a good grandson-in-law. Ah. That's great. It's so comfortable. It's so cool. Old Master Jin laughed and waved his hands. What? Jin Zonghai was stunned. What does he mean by having a good daughter and bringing home a good grandson-in-law? Who is he talking about? However, Jin Zonghai only has one daughter. Is he talking about Jin Beibei? Does Beibei have a boyfriend? Jin Zonghai's voice attracted Jin Baobao, Jin Beibei, Cheng Menjing and Xiao Chen. Then they saw Jin Zonghai coming back. Second uncle. Cheng Menjing hurried to greet Jin Zonghai when she saw him. Cheng Menjing's mother was Jin Beibei's first aunt, and Jin Beibei's mother was Cheng Menjing's second aunt. Both of them were members of the Zhu family. Menjing is here. Jin Zonghai nodded. Then he fixed his eyes on Xiao Chen, which surprised him a bit. Old Master Jin said that Jin Beibei came back with her boyfriend. However, Xiao Chen was the only outsider here. He couldn't be Jin Baobao, could he? Therefore it could only be Xiao Chen. However, Jin Zonghai knew Xiao Chen. He knew that he was the useless young master of the Xiao family and used to be Cheng Menjing's fiancé. Since Jin Zonghai was more or less related to Cheng Menjing, he paid close attention to their affairs. However, according to Old Master Jin, Xiao Chen was Beibei's boyfriend? This, Jin Zonghai was not a traditional and conservative person. In particular, Jin Beibei was favored by Old Master Jin. Therefore, Jin Zonghai did not have many requirements when it came to choosing a partner. However, if she chose Xiao Chen, their relationship would be a bit messy. How awkward would it be between her and Cheng Menjing in the future? However, why was Cheng Menjing here? It was so hard to understand the world of young people. Hello, second Uncle Jin. Xiao Chen nodded politely. Xiao Chen is here. Welcome, welcome. Jin Zonghai said politely. Like Jin Baobao, he was not a big shot in the family. Therefore he had no right to show off here. In the Jin family, where Old Master Jin acted arbitrarily, no one dared to do anything in front of Old Master Jin. Otherwise they would be asking for a beating. Ho! At this moment Old Master Jin suddenly shouted. Then he let out a long breath and said with a relaxed expression, Good medicine. It's a miraculous medicine. Xiao Chen, you are very good. Wait for me to take a shower. After saying that, Old Master Jin quickly left under everyone's surprised gaze. After Old Master Jin left, Jin Zonghai looked at Jin Beibei and asked, Beibei, what's going on? Oh, my cousin-in-law is here to treat Grandpa. Look at Grandpa now. He must have cured him. Jin Beibei said proudly as if she was the one who treated Grandpa. How is it? My cousin-in-law is awesome, isn't he? Cousin-in-law? Treat him? Jin Zonghai was stunned for a moment before he realized who this cousin-in-law was. However, didn't they say that Xiao Chen was Beibei's boyfriend now? Why was he still her cousin-in-law? Could it be that Xiao Chen and Cheng Menjing had come back from the ashes, and Jin Beibei was the mistress? It was so messy that he felt that he could not think clearly enough. However, although he found it hard to accept the mistress, Old Master Jin was in charge of this matter. It was not up to him to say anything. Therefore he did not bother about it. Yes, my cousin-in-law is awesome. He saw through Grandpa's illness at first glance. Then Grandpa invited him to treat him. Jin Beibei explained. What? Jin Zonghai turned around in shock and looked at Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen, even I don't know where father's injuries are and you can see through them? It's just an accident. Xiao Chen smiled. I was born to be useless. I only wanted to see if there was a way to change my body constitution. Therefore, I did some research on the medical arts. That's not all. My cousin-in-law is awesome in other aspects too. He is not useless at all but a genius. Just like Beibei. Jin Beibei said. Jin Zonghai nodded. He had never seen Jin Beibei praise a man. So to speak, his father's words had some basis. Was there anything between Beibei and Xiao Chen? Then thank you very much, Mr. Xiao. If father's injuries are cured, you will be the benefactor of the Jin family. Jin Zonghai's way of addressing Xiao Chen and his tone suddenly changed. If old master's injuries were really cured, his capability would definitely soar. It would be a blessing for the Jin family. Chapter 128. You're welcome. When Xiao Chen was about to say that it was nothing, Cheng Menjing spoke first. Second uncle, you don't have to thank him. He's just my servant. If I ask him to go east, he doesn't dare to go west. If I ask him to beat a dog, he doesn't dare to catch a chicken. Cheng Minjing put her hands on her waist, somewhat complacent. It was rare to have such an awesome servant. Even she felt that she was awesome. Yes, second Uncle Jean, I'm just a servant of the eldest Mississippi. Just tell me if you need anything. Xiao Qin said with a smile. He found the eldest Miss's appearance indescribably cute. Why didn't he notice it before? Ah, so the legend is true. Xiao Qin is going to be your servant, Menjing? Jin Zonghai smiled. However, you have to thank him. I don't care about the relationship between you two. Brother-in-law, I want you to feed me cherries again. Jean Bebe had just eaten an awful cherry, and she wanted Xiao Qin to feed her again. Okay. Xiao Qin took the cherry, wiped it, and put it into Jean Bebe's mouth. Delicious. Delicious. Jean Bebe finally ate delicious cherries again. It was definitely not an illusion. Seeing that she ate several cherries in a row, Cheng Menjing was also drooling. So she said, Xiao Qin, I want some too. Okay. Xiao Qin picked up another cherry, wiped it, and fed it to the eldest Mississippi. Therefore the two of them ate the cherries that Xiao Qin fed them, one on the left and the other on the right. Jin Zonghai was dumbfounded. Damn it. Are sisters fighting for favor? Xiao Qin doesn't look like a servant at all. He couldn't help but believe old Master Jin's words. Of course, he could never imagine that it was a very simple thing. It was only because the cherries that Xiao Qin fed her were delicious. Jin Baobao was also a little dumbfounded. Previously, he didn't have much interaction with Xiao Qin. He only heard that Xiao Qin was an arrogant hedonistic young master. But today it seemed that it was completely different. Moreover, he was even able to subdue such a mischievous younger sister. This was not something that an ordinary person could do. It was impossible for him to gain Jean Bebe's admiration without real ability. Jean Bebe was no fool. Very soon, the cherries in Xiao Qin's hands were all eaten up by the eldest Miss and Jean Bebe. The two of them were still not satisfied. After thinking for a while, Xiao Qin was about to pick more cherries when he heard Master Jin's excited laughter. Alright, I'm completely healed. There is no abnormality at all. My inner force can flow through my entire body without any obstruction. Old Master Jin strode into the living room. When he saw Xiao Qin, he gave him a big bear hug. Well, Xiao Qin was almost strangled to death by old Master Jin. He coughed and said with a bitter smile, That's great. The next medicine is to cure the root cause. You must take it on time. My young friend Xiao Qin, I didn't know that your expertise in medical arts has far exceeded that in martial arts. As he said that, old Master Jin could not help but put on a disdainful expression. I don't know what old Cheng and old Xiao are thinking. They are truly two super idiots. How stupid would they be to turn down such a great grandson and grandson-in-law? Their brains must have been damaged after too much training, haven't they? Although old Master's words were crude, they were not unreasonable. However, Xiao Qin's grandpa and Cheng Menjing's grandpa both felt somewhat embarrassed when he said those words. To be honest, Xiao Qin's grandpa still loved Xiao Qin very much when he was young. In recent years he was more strict with him because of his inner force. Therefore, Xiao Qin did not particularly bear a grudge against him. My young friend Xiao Qin, I just said that if you cure my illness I will give you a Jean Bebe. How about it? Old Master Jin looked at Xiao Qin with a smile. He was just joking before, but now it could be said that he was sincere. With Xiao Qin's medical arts, the Jin family might become the top aristocratic family in Songning City. Moreover, it was not impossible for them to rush to the entire Xia kingdom. As long as he opened a martial arts medical center, he would gain both fame and fortune. Grandpa Jin, don't joke. How can I give it to you? Xiao Qin was stunned. Xiao Qin could still distinguish the affirmative tone in old Master Jin's reply. It was completely different from the previous joke. Hehe, as I said last time, if the Xiao family doesn't want you, our Jin family can take you. How about you marry into our Jin family? Although old Master Jin was an uncouth man, he actually understood that rare goods were worth hoarding. Only when Xiao Qin was a member of the Jin family, he could help the Jin family with all his strength. Well, forget it. I am now only Menjing's servant. Even if I am not good enough, she is used to using me. I can't just leave casually. Xiao Qin saw old Master Jin's sincerity. However, this matter was not a small matter. If Xiao Qin really married into the Jin family, he would lose face. Suddenly being valued by the Jin family would not conform to his original intention of low-key investigation of the real culprit behind the scenes. Humph, you have a conscience. Hearing Xiao Qin's words, Cheng Minjing was very satisfied. I have treated you well. If you drive me away, I will never talk to you again. Hee hee. Xiaoqun felt a little funny. After talking for a long time, her punishment was to never talk to him again? Old Master Jean glanced at Cheng Minjing with interest and then looked at Jean Beibei. He nodded thoughtfully and said, since you haven't made up your mind, let's not talk about this now. Let's talk about it later. However, I am still very grateful to you, Xiaoqun. Old Master Jean could see that the relationship between the three of them was a little strange. He could not rush it and could only take one step at a time. Grandpa Jean, since you have recovered from your injury, it's time for me to leave. It's very late and I have to go to school tomorrow. Xiaoqun nodded at Old Master Jean. As for gratitude, he did not think too much about it. The reason why he helped Old Master Jean in the first place was because of his mistress and Jean Beibei. You're right. It's getting late. Why don't you stay at the Jean family's place for the night? Minjing often stays here and Xiaoqun, we have enough guest rooms here, Old Master Jean said. That's not necessary. Xiaoqun was still boiling medicine in the electric pot. He had to go back. Cultivation was like rowing a boat against the current. If one did not move forward, one would fall behind. If Xiaoqun wanted to gain strength as soon as possible, he could not waste any day. Cheng Minjing pursed her lips. She was about to agree because she wanted to eat cherries, but Xiaoqun insisted on leaving. She was a little unhappy. Hey Xiaoqun, I want you to stay here. Minjing, I'm still boiling medicine at home, Xiaoqun said honestly. Ah, I see. Let's go back then. Cheng Minjing was not an insensible girl. Hearing that Xiaoqun still wanted to take medicine, she naturally did not insist. Compared with gluttony, Xiaoqun's internal strength was more important. Old Master Jean looked at Cheng Minjing strangely again. He also realized that Xiaoqun listened to Cheng Minjing when it came to small things. However, when it came to big things, Cheng Minjing still listened to Xiaoqun. Was this a servant relationship? Was really weird. Could it be that Cheng Minjing also liked Xiaoqun? In that case, Beibei did not have an advantage in the competition. No, what if Old Master Cheng got ahead of me? What should I do? Seeing that Xiaoqun wanted to go back to take medicine, Old Master Jean could not force him to stay. He could only say, okay, but I will ask Jean Baobao to send the dregs back to you. Although Old Master Jean was very reluctant to give up the dregs, this thing belonged to Xiaoqun. He could not be greedy. He was going to get along with Xiaoqun for a long time. He did not want to take advantage of him temporarily. That's not necessary. Just leave it here. In the future, whoever has an old injury in his body can also take it. Xiaoqun waved his hand and did Old Master Jean a favor. Besides, the dregs were only 1/5 of the medicine that Xiaoqun had used. Xiaoqun did not care about it at all. He just did not show it on the surface. In that case, I won't be polite. Old Master Jean nodded happily after hearing it. He thought that this kid was really smart. It seemed that he also liked Beibei a little. Otherwise, how could he be so generous? Thinking of that, Old Master Jean was greatly reassured. Then we'll take our leave now. Right, you'd better keep the fact that I treated your injury a secret. Xiaoqun did not want his peaceful life to be disrupted. Of course. Rest assured, my young friend Xiaoqun, I won't tell anyone even if you beat me to death. Old Master Jean patted his chest and promised. That was exactly what he wanted. If everybody knew about it, it would not be a rare commodity. He did not want to tell anybody yet. It would be great if Jean Beibei could keep Xiaoqun for herself secretly. Xiaoqun nodded and left with the eldest lady. Jean Beibei, however, was somewhat reluctant to leave. She wanted to follow them, but she did not have a good reason to do so. She could only wave goodbye to them. Before they left, she said, "Cousin-in-law, you can drive the Porsche 991 away. Beibei still prefers Jean Beibei's car." Okay. Xiaoqun nodded. It was too late. It was unrealistic for him and the eldest lady to go back on foot. Xiaoqun and Cheng Minjing walked to the parking lot and got into Qin Jinping's Porsche 991 that Jean Beibei had just tricked. Sitting in the driver's seat of the car, Xiaoqun had a lot of mixed feelings. He used to have such a car, but it was an old 911, and 991 was the code name of the new 911. Xiaoqun did not expect that he would be driving a sports car again after being kicked out of the Xiao family. Living in a villa every day flirting with girls. It seemed that she was even more awesome than before as an honorable guest of the Jean family. It was not until this moment that Xiaoqun finally understood why the protagonists in so many novels and TV shows were all good-for-nothings. It turned out that they were the most awesome. Hey, why did the cherries you fed me taste so good? After getting in the car, Cheng Minjing could not help but ask. This was something that she could not understand no matter how hard she thought about it. She asked herself if she was that love-struck. What kind of mental boost would there be? Besides, Xiaochen was not her boyfriend, so what was the boost? Chapter 129. In fact, Xiaochen was quite curious too. He had thought that the young mistress was fooling around with Jin Beibei. But now that he heard it, it did not seem to be the case. Xiaochen, you are an idiot. When you wiped it, your spiritual energy leaked out and was directly absorbed by the cherries. Of course it's delicious. Elder Heaven Ancestor's voice echoed next to Xiaochen's ears. Everything in the world needs to absorb nutrients to grow. So does the cherries. They absorb the fertilizer in the soil and the carbon dioxide in the air. Nourished by the spiritual energy of heaven and earth, they can grow. However, the spiritual energy of heaven and earth here is sparse, and you have more in your hands. The cherries have just been picked and they are still active. They can be absorbed by themselves. After a long time, you have to inject them into your body manually. That explains a lot. Xiaochen was enlightened. It was just like injecting spiritual energy into a dish when cooking. But how could he explain it to the young mistress? Xiaochen immediately felt a headache coming on. Maybe it's because I drink some expensive herbs every day, and my body is releasing the energy of the herbs. Xiaochen said briefly, I just cleaned the cherries for you and fed them to you. As you can see, I didn't add anything. That's true. Qing Minjing nodded. She had been paying attention to Xiaochen's hands. Except for cleaning the cherries, he did not do anything else. We will pass by a fruit shop later. Go and buy some fruits. I'm going to try it out. Okay. Xiaochen nodded. Not far away from the villa area, there was a high-end fruit supermarket. It was open 24 hours a day and targeted at the customers in the rich area. The fruits in the supermarket were of the best quality, but the prices were relatively high. Xiaochen parked the car in front of the fruit supermarket. He was about to get off the car to buy some fruits when Qing Minjing stopped him. Hey, here's your money. As she spoke, Qing Minjing took out her wallet and gave it to Xiaochen directly. It seemed that she had built up her trust in Xiaochen and did not need to worry that Xiaochen would steal her money. No need, it's my treat. Xiaochen said with a smile. Recently, he had cheated a lot of money. Previously, Missy also gave the card that Qin Jinping gave her to Xiaochen. He didn't care about such a small amount of money to buy fruits at all. You have taken me in for so long. I should also repay you. Well, since you're so proactive, I'll give you a chance to repay me. Qing Minjing nodded and put away her wallet. Xiaochen went to buy some cherries. The cherries here were cherries. They were not as red as the cherries at Bei Bei's house. Instead, they were dark purple. He also bought a few peaches and oranges. Seeing that there were still vegetables over there, Xiaochen also bought some. Of course, even if the price here was more expensive, it was only a few hundred yuan. For the current Xiaochen, it was really nothing. After buying things, Xiaochen returned to the car. Qing Minjing couldn't wait to take out a cherry. She wiped it and quickly stuffed it into her mouth. The taste was not bad, but it was not as delicious as the cherries from before. Hey, can you feed me one to try? Qing Minjing stopped Xiaochen from driving and said to him. Okay. Xiaochen picked up one and wiped it. He pondered for a while and injected a little primordial qi into it. Who knew how many days had passed since the cherries were picked? If they were not active and didn't absorb primordial qi, wouldn't it be exposed? After doing it, he stuffed it into Qing Minjing's mouth and said, What about now? It's really different. Qing Minjing looked at Xiaochen's hand in surprise. If it was in Beibei's house, there might be something wrong with the cherries because Jin Beibei had done something to them. But if it was bought outside, there wouldn't be any problem. However, the taste was still very different. After thinking for a while, Qing Minjing said, Why don't you wipe it and feed it to me directly? Missy, aren't you afraid of having a stomachache? Xiaochen said with a bitter smile. Then I'll wipe it myself and feed it to you. Qing Minjing picked up a cherry and wiped it. Then she passed it to Xiaochen. This time, Xiaochen didn't wipe it, nor did he inject primordial qi into it. He directly fed it to Qing Minjing. What about this time? It's not delicious. Qing Minjing frowned. She finally believed Xiaochen's words. She looked at Xiaochen in surprise. You have this ability? You can sell fruits in the future. Forget it. Do I have to wipe them one by one before I sell them? Don't you think I'm tired? Xiaochen said with a bitter smile. You want to leave now? I won't let you go. Such a magical servant belongs to me, Qing Minjing. Qing Minjing said proudly. Okay, I'm not leaving. Xiaochen smiled. He didn't expect that he would be so qualified as a servant that Missy was very satisfied with. In fact, Xiao Qin felt that it was not bad to have a temporary place to stay. Here he could hide his strength and didn't have to worry about being discovered. At least, Missy and Jean Bebe wouldn't tell them if they knew. But if he lived in other places, it would be hard to say. It was hard to guarantee that the Qing family or the person suspected to be behind Xiao Yuliang wouldn't send someone to spy on him. If that happened, it wouldn't be fun. But now he was living with Cheng Menjing, who dared to spy on him. You still have a conscience? Cheng Menjing nodded in satisfaction. Feed me another cherry. Hurry up. Okay. Because Xiao Qin had to drive, he quickly injected primordial energy into the bag of cherries by hand. It looked like he was wiping them. When he was done, he handed it to Cheng Menjing. Okay. You can eat it. It should be delicious as well. Why didn't you think of this earlier? Are you trying to take advantage of me? Cheng Menjing took the cherries and glared at Xiao Qin. I wouldn't dare. I didn't think of this before, did I? Besides, you asked me to feed you. Xiao Qin shrugged innocently. Cheng Menjing ate the cherries and ignored Xiao Qin. In fact, if Xiao Qin said that he did it on purpose, the young lady might be a little happier. What she was most confused about was why she didn't attract Xiao Qin. Although this guy respected her and treated her as the hostess, he had never treated her as a woman. Was he blind? Couldn't he see that she wasn't worse than Xin Jingxian, Kerlin and Tang Tang? Sooner or later, I'll let you know how much you regret it when I dumped you. Xiao Qin started the car and returned to the villa. When Xiao Qin was about to take the medicine, the young lady threw the rest of the fruit in front of Xiao Qin. Hey, help me process it. It's your honor. Okay, I'm very willing, dear young lady. Xiao Qin took the fruit with a smile, injected some primordial qi into it, and then returned it to Cheng Menjing. The young lady was satisfied and went upstairs with the fruit, while Xiao Qin turned his head to drink the medicine. This medicine was bought by Xiao Qin at a high price, so Xiao Qin cherished it very much. He even drank the last drop of the medicine, and then began to exercise in the room. Although it was very late, the villa was a standalone building. Only Xiao Qin lived on the first floor, so it wouldn't affect others. After exercising for more than an hour, Xiao Qin released the heat in his dantian. It was very comfortable. He took a shower and practiced on the bed with peace of mind. However, after cultivating for a while, Xiao Qin's phone rang. Xiao Qin took a look and it was actually Lu Jinming. After hesitating for a while, Xiao Qin still picked up the phone. No matter how much I hate him, this kid will be stupid enough to send me money in a few days. Xiao Qin had no reason to ignore this nouveau riche friend. Young Master Lu, it's so late. What's the matter with me? Asked Xiao Qin. Xiao Qin is like this. I want to ask, is the matter tonight resolved? Did Menjing say anything about me? Asked Lu Jinming. It turned out that this guy wanted to inquire about Cheng Menjing's whereabouts. After the hero saved the beauty, he wanted to ask for the beauty's evaluation. Xiao Qin thought about it and said, she didn't know what was going on before, but after my explanation she finally understood what was going on. Her evaluation of you is okay, but you also know Cheng Menjing's identity. It's impossible to move her at once with this ordinary level of hero saving the beauty. Yes, I understand, but this is also a good start. Today, thank you Xiao Qin for helping to inform me. You can rest assured that I will definitely protect you in the future. In school, no one dares to do anything to you. Lu Jinming thought, it seems that I can't get rid of Xiao Qin for the time being. It's also good to keep this kid to provide me with information on picking up girls. Then let him live for 2 more days. And is there anything else? Asked Xiao Qin. There is one more thing. Do you know where Cheng Menjing eats in the morning? I rarely see her eating breakfast at school. I want to treat her to breakfast tomorrow morning. Let's strike while the iron is hot. Can you give me a suggestion? Lu Jinming revealed his purpose. He wanted to strike while the iron was hot. Today he had successfully saved the beauty. The next day, he naturally had to take the initiative to please Cheng Menjing first while she hadn't forgotten it. How can I give you a suggestion? How would I know what she is willing to eat? Xiao Qin said somewhat impatiently. Did Lu Jinming even know how to pick up girls or not? Xiao Qin was a little impatient. That's right. How about I treat her to breakfast tomorrow morning, and I will take you with me. You can give me some advice. Lu Jinming asked tentatively. Why do you take me with you if you treat her to breakfast? I have to go to sell fried dough sticks. Do you have something to say or not? If not, I'm hanging up. You don't want to pay me and you still ask me so many questions. Xiao Qin was anxious to try the effect of the medicine, but Lu Jinming still didn't give up. Oh, Aren't you in a good relationship with Jean Bebe? How about I invite Cheng Menjing to bring you and Jean Bebe? 2 pairs will be perfect. Otherwise, if I treat Cheng Menjing to a meal alone, she will have to agree first. Lu Zhiming said somewhat embarrassedly. Xiao Chen, rest assured. The money I promised you will not be small. It's only 200,000. I'll give it to you as soon as I have it. Chapter 130. Oh, then you can take Jean Bebe with you. I have to fry the deep-fried dough sticks. I don't have time. Xiao Chen said. Well? It was not that Lu Zhiming did not want to take Jean Bebe with him, but if there was no one to restrain Jean Bebe, she would be a troublemaker. Then how could he please Cheng Menjing? He had asked Xiao Chen to restrain Jean Bebe. In Lu Zhiming's opinion, Xiao Chen would definitely help him since he had accepted his fund to pick up girls. As long as Xiao Chen played with Jean Bebe, Lu Zhiming would have a chance to be alone with Cheng Menjing. If there's nothing else, I'm hanging up, Xiao Chen said. Don't. Lu Zhiming was immediately anxious. How about this? Xiao Chen, I'll treat them to deep-fried dough sticks tomorrow. Is that okay? I'll go to the morning street to find you. Whatever you want. Xiao Chen hung up the phone directly. He cursed, idiot, and turned off his phone. Then he began to cultivate. Nothing happened that night. Xiao Chen did not continue to make breakthroughs. Although he was a little disappointed, his restlessness also calmed down. The rapid breakthroughs made Xiao Chen feel that cultivation was much easier than martial arts. He had the strength equal to a warrior at the peak of level 3 of the inner force realm in just a few days. But now the speed of cultivation had slowed down. Xiao Chen also gradually recognized the reality that there were not so many things in the world that could be reaped without sowing. Perhaps, the reason why he could cultivate so fast before was that he had built a good foundation over the years. But now the foundation had been used up and the speed had slowed down. At the first glimmer of dawn, Xiao Chen ended his cultivation and quickly rushed to the morning market street. A new day had begun. Xiao Chen, do you think that redhead from yesterday will come looking for trouble? Tang Tang was more or less worried. She had been in the morning street for a long time, and she had heard that some riders who had offended the gangsters were beaten to death after that. Not only did they lose a lot of money, but they also couldn't keep the stall anymore and left the market gloomily. Different situations call for different actions. If he really comes looking for trouble, we won't be able to stop him. But we can't just let him trick us, right? Xiao Chen smiled indifferently and comforted her. Moreover, with our current skills, it's more than enough to open a breakfast shop. So what if we don't set up a stall? That's true. However, you, as the chef, must be involved. Otherwise, I won't be able to do it myself. Tang Tang said, You can't abandon me when the time comes. How could I not? You can't abandon a wife who has gone through hardships together, Xiao Chen joked. And this is what you said. Let's see if you bring me when the time comes. Tang Tang was also relieved. Otherwise, she would be worried all night last night. The two came to the morning street, set up the stall and began the day's business. Because of the usual good taste, customers came to buy when the stall was just set up. However, what made Xiao Chen disappointed was that Kerlin didn't come to buy fried dough sticks today. To be honest, Xiao Chen still missed her. After leaving the school for so long, yesterday was the first time he saw her, but in that situation they couldn't talk about the past. In fact, it wasn't that Kerlin didn't want to come. She said to her mother at the same time every day, Mom, do you want me to buy fried dough sticks? Buy what? Yesterday they helped us. How can we take advantage of them today? If we buy it at full price, who can afford it? Forget it. Mother Lin waved her hand and said, Let's eat noodles today. Oh. Kerlin wanted to say that Xiao Chen would still sell it to her, but she didn't say it after thinking about it. Her mother didn't seem to like her and Xiao Chen. In fact, when Kerlin saw Xiao Chen, she was a little afraid. After all, Xiao Chen's previous image was deeply rooted in her heart. She was grateful to Xiao Chen, but she didn't dare to have a deep relationship with Xiao Chen. She was afraid that Xiao Chen would make that kind of unreasonable request. With this contradictory heart, Kerlin's idea was to hide as much as possible. I really miscalculated yesterday. Why did I tell that sister that my family sells noodles inside? If I didn't tell her, Xiao Chen wouldn't be able to find me, right? But then I would lose 100 yuan. I don't know if that red hair will come looking for trouble. He suffered such a big loss. I hope he doesn't come. Mother Lin frowned and was a little worried. He won't come, right? Although Kerlin said so, she was still worried about Xiao Chen. She wanted to see if he was okay, but she didn't have an excuse. So, she was in a dilemma as she made noodles. Kurlin's mother was right. How could Red Hair not come after he suffered such a big loss? He had never suffered such a big loss before. After he went back, he found a few brothers and prepared to take revenge on Xiaoqin today. A smelly stall owner actually dared to humiliate me, Red Hair. I will kill you this time. Brother Red Hair, how are we going to deal with this little brat this time? Do we beat him up, or do what we do every time and extort some money from him? Asked one of Red Hair's underlings. Just beat him up. This kid has some kung fu. He's quite powerful. We have to outsmart him. Red Hair waved his hand and said, just like the last time we dealt with the wonton stall. Extort some money from him and cause trouble every now and then. Make him scram. I'm annoyed when I see him. Understood. The guy with the back nodded and the other two underlings also nodded. It wasn't the first time they did this kind of thing. Red Hair brought the three underlings to Xiaoqian's breakfast stall. Tang Tang's eyelids twitched slightly when she saw them entering the line and began to line up. She pushed Xiaoqian and whispered, Xiaoqian, that Red Hair from yesterday is here again. Xiaoqian looked up and found that Red Hair was actually lining up obediently. Although he was a little puzzled, he still nodded and said, ignore him first. Let's wait and see what he wants to do. Tang Tang nodded and continued to sell the youtiao. Not long after, it was Red Hair's and his underlings' turn. Red Hair handed Tang Tang a 50 yuan bill and said, give me 4 bowls of tofu pudding and 20 youtiao. Tang Tang took the bill and carefully examined it for a long time. She found that it was indeed a genuine bill. She couldn't help but wonder, is this Red Hair really here to eat today? Could it be that he still wants to eat today after eating yesterday? It was understandable if it was someone else, but Red Hair was almost killed by the chili yesterday. Yet he still wants to eat? Is this person addicted to spicy food? However, Tang Tang naturally couldn't drive the guests away. She gave them the money and gave them the tofu pudding and youtiao. Red Hair took the tofu pudding and youtiao and didn't say anything. He sat at the public table next to the morning market and ate. Xiaoqian, are they really here to eat? Tang Tang was a little doubtful. Who knows? Let's wait and see. Xiaoqian frowned. He always felt that this Red Hair didn't have any good intentions. However, since he didn't move now, Xiaoqian didn't bother to pay attention to him. After a while, Red Hair and his 3 underlings finished eating. Then they stood up and wanted to leave. Just when Tang Tang thought that they really came for breakfast, Red Hair's underling suddenly put his head behind his back, covered his stomach, squatted on the ground and screamed. It hurts. It hurts. It hurts so much. His back had a headache and his forehead was sweating. My stomach hurts too. What's going on? Another underling with a full beard also screamed and squatted on the ground. Mine is starting to hurt too. It hurts so much. The last underling, Bald Lao Yang, also screamed. What's wrong with you guys? What's going on? Red Hair suddenly became anxious, but he just spoke halfway and fell to the ground with his hands on his stomach. He wailed loudly, it hurts. It hurts so much. Why does my stomach hurt so much? Ouch. Brother Red Hair, it must be this breakfast stall that's not clean. There's something wrong with the breakfast. Otherwise, the 4 of us wouldn't have a stomachache at the same time. While talking, the guy with the back had already begun to roll on the ground. It hurts so much, it hurts so much. This youtiao stall is a black spot. It must be using moldy flour and gutter oil, and the tofu pudding made with inferior beans. It's all junk food. The bearded man also cried out. Yes, the black-hearted boss. It hurts so much. Bald Lao Yang also began to roll on the ground. Everyone be careful. This breakfast stall sells black-hearted food. Don't eat it. If you eat it, you'll end up like me. Red Hair cried on the ground while moaning. The 4 men's loud cries suddenly attracted a lot of onlookers. Some people who came to buy fried dough sticks and soy milk also stopped what they were doing. They looked at Xiaoqian's breakfast stall with vigilance and disgust. Although Xiaoqian's fried dough sticks were delicious, in this world, there were many black-hearted bosses who could also make junk food delicious by adding some poppy shells. Looking at the miserable state of Red Hair and the others, they didn't dare to take the risk of buying Xiaoqian's fried dough sticks for the sake of gluttony. Xiaoqian looked at Red Hair and the others coldly. To be honest, Xiaoqian could totally beat them away, but that wasn't the solution. Some people who didn't know the truth might think that he was treating the victims violently. Tang Tang was a little anxious. She pointed at Red Hair and said angrily, "Don't slander us. Our fried dough sticks and soy milk are very reputable in this area. No one has ever had any problems with them. Why are you the only ones who have problems?" Shout? What? Your food is bad and you're blaming us? Red Hair's face darkened. He sneered, "You're lucky that you didn't eat bad people before. I didn't expect this fried dough stick stall to be so popular, but it's actually a black-hearted shop. Yeah, I even bought it for the elderly and children. Now I'm scared just thinking about it. Everyone don't buy it. Boycott them." Yeah, look at these two youngsters. Not only did they ignore the person who had problems with his food, but they also kept defending themselves. Do they have any conscience? What the hell? Yeah, hurry up and send him to the hospital and compensate him. Chapter 131. The onlookers who didn't know the truth began to blame Xiao Chen and Tang Tang. Of course, there was also a man hired by Red Hair to fan the flames. Red Hair was overjoyed when he saw that the wind began to blow in his direction. This was his usual trick, and he had ruined a wonton stall. The stall owner not only paid him a lot of money, but also couldn't open his stall anymore. No one dared to eat his wonton anymore. Don't listen to them. I just ate a bowl of tofu pudding and 2 fried dough sticks and nothing happened. And I've been eating here for many days and nothing happened. Don't believe them. At this time an old lady couldn't stand it anymore. She stood up and explained, "Yesterday I saw this man." The old lady wanted to say that she was also there when Red Hair spent fake money yesterday. But before she could say it, she heard Red Hair yelling, "Old lady, you're so old and your stomach isn't functioning well. It's normal that you can't tell if it's poisonous or not. Don't meddle in it." Yes, she must be a man of the fried dough stick stall. Otherwise, why is she the only one who says she's fine? It hurts. Take me to the hospital, it hurts so much. Xiao Chen sighed and wanted to walk over to let the old lady finish her words. He didn't believe that only the old lady had seen what happened yesterday. There must be others who had seen it, but they dared not to show their faces. However, before he went over, suddenly a loud and urgent car horn sounded behind the onlookers. Beep, 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 beep. People in the front, get out of the way. I don't care if you're killed. After the horn sounded, the loudspeaker shouted, accompanied by the roar of the engine, which made the onlookers hide aside subconsciously. Those who dare to drive in the downtown area are not good people. Looking at the Land Rover Range Rover, it is a car worth more than 1 million renminbi, and it has the Song TNB001 plate. How can an ordinary person hang such a plate? How awesome was that? Early this morning, Lu Jinming finally managed to ask Cheng Menjing out. Before, Cheng Menjing refused to go for breakfast. But later she said that she was going to eat the fried dough sticks made by Xiao Chen. Therefore, under Jean Beibe's instigation, she followed him here. But as soon as he entered the morning market street, there was a traffic jam. Lu Jinming had no choice but to honk the horn and drive forward. However, he was a young master of the underworld and was used to being arrogant. He didn't care whether there was anyone in front of him or not. Although he inevitably scratched someone, those who were scratched saw Lu Jinming's domineering car plate and arrogant posture and knew that he was not to be trifled with. Therefore they didn't do anything and just swallowed their anger. However, it was almost time for Xiao Chen's breakfast stall. In the end, a group of people gathered together for some unknown reason. This made Lu Jinming even more annoyed. *CK, it's not easy for me to treat my goddess to a meal. Can't you get out of my way? Finally, when these people got out of the way, when Lu Jinming was about to drive, he saw 4 people rolling on the ground not far from his car. Lu Jinming flew into a rage at once. He picked up the loudspeaker and shouted, *CKU4. Are you deaf? Get out of my way. It hurts, it hurts. This is a scam. This fried dough stick stall is a scam. Don't eat here. The red-haired man didn't care whether there was a car or not. He continued to roll on the ground. In his opinion, the car couldn't do anything to the patient, could it? Quickly send me to the hospital. I think I'm suffering from food poisoning. It's so hard and uncomfortable. The adulterous couple at this fried dough stick stall is a black-hearted boss. Lu Jinming did not know what the people on the ground were wailing about, and he did not want to listen to them. He only wanted to go to Xiao Chen's place to eat fried dough sticks with Cheng Menjing. Seeing that Xiao Chen's stall was not far away, he suggested, "How about we stop the car here and go for a walk?" "Lil Ming, you can't do it either. You're a young master from the underworld and you can't even handle 4 hooligans. I don't feel safe eating with you. Cousin Menjing hates people who don't have guts the most." Jean Beibe curled her lips and mocked Lu Jinming. Cheng Menjing glanced at Jean Beibe without saying a word. She naturally noticed what Jean Beibe noticed too, but Lu Jinming did not. "Is that so?" Lu Jinming was startled, then he responded generously, "Who said that I don't have guts? Just you wait. I'll show you what a young master from the underworld looks like." Oh, let me see then, but you don't look like you can do it. Jean Bebe was disdainful. You'll see if I can do it or not. Lu Zhenming picked up the megaphone and roared, F***CKU you curs. Do you not understand human language or what? Get the hell out of here. Why would the red-haired man care about him? He was pretending to have a stomachache. If he left, how could he continue pretending? Therefore he and his 3 hooligans were still rolling on the ground. Look Lil Ming, they're ignoring you at all. Jean Bebe remarked. Just you wait. Lu Zhenming was infuriated. He got out of the car and pointed at the 4 hooligans on the ground. I'm warning you again. If you dare to block my way again, I'll run you over and kill you. It hurts, it hurts. Red Hair continued to wail like a ghost and howl like a wolf, ignoring Lu Zhenming's words. F***CK you're really something. Who was Lu Zhenming? He was a young master from the underworld who killed without batting an eye. The red-haired man simply took out his phone and dialed a number. Teacher Lei, it's me. I'm at the Morning Market Street and I'm going to run over 4 idiots with my car. Help me prepare someone to take the blame. Bring me another 1 million yuan and get a few fake witnesses. Okay, that's it. The red-haired man sneered and thought, who doesn't know how to act cool and scare people? I'm good at it. You really have the guts to run over them? That said, Lu Zhenming would not spoil the red-haired man. He was most afraid of losing face in front of his goddess. Now, the red-haired man had infuriated him. After jumping into the Land Rover, Lu Zhenming immediately started the car. With a roar of the accelerator, he sped towards the red-haired man and the other 3. Who was he, Lu Zhenming? If someone died, he had underlings to take the blame for him. What was there to be afraid of? The red-haired man saw Lu Zhenming get into the car from the corner of his eyes. He thought that he had admitted defeat and was preparing to leave. Who knew that the next moment, the Land Rover's engine roared and charged at him. IF***CK. Run. He was the closest to the car. At that moment he didn't even have the thought of pretending to have a stomachache. He jumped up from the ground and dodged to the side. The other 3 underlings weren't idiots either. They had been at the bottom of society, so they had long trained themselves to be quick-witted. When they saw the Land Rover charge over, they got up from the ground and dodged to the side. However, the red-haired man was too close, so he staggered. At that moment, the red-haired man understood that he had met a ruthless person today. This kid really dared to run over them. Who was this person? However, the red-haired man didn't want to show weakness. He pointed at the Land Rover's tail and shouted, "You hit me. This isn't over. If you dare to run, I will remember your car plate number and say that you are a hit and run." Duh. When the red-haired man saw the eye-catching NB001 plate on the Land Rover, he was instantly dumbfounded. He wasn't a person who didn't know the price. This plate was an auction plate. It couldn't be bought without a few $100,000. Moreover, to hang this plate so arrogantly, he must be a rich person. At that moment he was a little scared. Maybe what Lu Zhenming said was true. He really dared to run over them. Brother Red Hair, let's go. The red-haired man could tell that Lu Zhenming wasn't someone to be trifled with. His underlings naturally saw it too. They cautiously reminded the red-haired man. And let's go. Although the red-haired man wasn't satisfied that he didn't manage to deal with Xiao Chen's Youqiao stall, if Lu Zhenming turned around and the people he found arrived, wouldn't he beat them up again? The red-haired man couldn't afford to provoke these rich and powerful people. I say, red-haired man, didn't you have a stomachache? Why doesn't it hurt anymore? Xiao Chen saw that the red-haired man was planning to leave, so he asked with a faint smile. I choked when we were eating just now. I'm fine now. If there's nothing else, let's go. The red-haired man knew that he couldn't pretend anymore. You said that your stomach still hurt. How did you stand up? You stood up for a long time, but you didn't lie down on the ground. This didn't make sense at all. Why are you in such a hurry to leave? I was planning to give you some money. Xiao Chen said with some regret. You want to compensate me? Alright, give it to me quickly. The red-haired man didn't expect that the matter was exposed. Xiao Chen would still compensate him. Wasn't he a fool? However, it didn't matter whether it was true or not. How could the red-haired man not take the free money? In his opinion, Xiao Chen must be afraid. Today, a rich family's young master happened to help him out. Next time he wouldn't be so lucky. He was afraid that the red-haired man would find trouble with him again, so he planned to pay the money to avoid disaster. However, even if you take out the money today, the red-haired man, won't let you go so easily. I will definitely return the humiliation yesterday. I will take revenge until you leave this place and can't do business anymore. I'll give you 1 yuan. Thank you for your monkey performance just now. It was very exciting. As Xiaoqin spoke, he took out a yuan coin from his pocket and handed it to the red-haired man. You. Redhead's face flushed red, only then did he realize that he had been brushed off by Xiaoqin. Together with his head of red hair, his head was like a big lantern fruit, fiery red. However, Xiaoqin's martial arts value was higher. Even if the red-haired man had 4 people, he didn't dare to casually attack Xiaoqin. Moreover, the rich family's young master hadn't left yet. If they were to fight and he joined in, it wouldn't be fun anymore. Thinking of this, the red-haired man could only snort coldly. He glared at Xiaoqin and scolded, "Just you wait." Then he quickly left with his 3 underlings. At this point, the people present finally understood that the red-haired man was a liar. He pretended to have a stomachache and wanted to extort people. In the end, he was accidentally bumped into by the rich family's young master. Chapter 132. Originally, Lu Zhiming's arrogant act of killing someone, finding a scapegoat and giving false evidence was indeed unpleasant. It was the typical style of a brainless rich second generation. But now, it seemed that evil people needed to be dealt with by evil people. Without Lu Zhiming, how could red hair be seen through so easily? As a result, Xiaoqian's Youqiao stall once again recovered the scene of selling like hotcakes, and those who spoke up for Redhead before were now very ashamed at this time. They wanted to buy more Youqiao to make themselves feel better. Lu Zhiming didn't know what happened to red hair, but he didn't care. Red hair was just a green-haired guy. What did it have to do with him? He found a place to park his car and walked to Xiaoqin. "Xiaoqin, I'm coming." Lu Zhiming winked at Xiaoqin, wanting him to come and help to contain Jin Beibei. "If you want to make trouble, give me 3 sets of Youqiao and soy milk." "Why are you winking?" "Pay up." Xiaoqin glared at Lu Zhiming grumpily. But no matter what, this guy had helped him just now. Although Xiaoqin could solve it himself, it wouldn't work so quickly. Lu Zhiming took out his wallet at once, took out a 100 yuan bill and handed it to Xiaoqin. "Can't you see I'm frying Youqiao? I'm frying Youqiao with my money-grubbing hand. Do you want to eat it?" Xiaoqin said. Lu Zhiming handed the money to Tang Tang at once. "Don't you know how to line up? Can't you see there are so many people waiting? What are you thinking? Can't you be a gentleman in front of the goddess?" Xiaoqin pointed at the people in the line opposite Tang Tang and said, "Oh, okay." Lu Zhiming took back the money resentfully and turned to line up. This action made the people in the queue click their tongues in wonder. Just now they clearly saw how arrogant Lu Zhiming was. This guy wanted to kill someone with his car. But now he spoke to Xiaoqin in a pleasant manner. What ability did this deep-fried dough stick have to actually make him so respectful? Everyone was puzzled. "You buy it first." However, Lu Zhiming wanted to line up. How could the person at the front of the line dare to let Lu Zhiming line up? The memory of this fellow's ruthlessness was still fresh in his mind. He didn't want to suffer this fellow's revenge after he finished his purchase. Therefore he simply let Lu Zhiming buy it first. "Thank you." Lu Zhiming nodded to the man politely, then gave the money to Tang Tang. The people in the back also saw Lu Zhiming buy it, but no one dared to criticize him. Who would provoke such a fierce person? Xiaoqin glanced at him and didn't stop him. If he wanted to buy it, then let him do it. The others didn't say anything and Xiaoqin didn't care. Lu Zhiming bought the deep-fried dough sticks and soybean milk, then brought them to Qing Minjing and Jin Beibei. At the same time he kept winking at Xiaoqin, but Xiaoqin didn't pay attention to him at all. After all the customers in front of him were gone, Xiaoqin fried some more stock, then walked over and sat beside Lu Zhiming. This was a table for 4 people. Lu Zhiming sat on one side by himself, while Qing Minjing and Jin Beibei sat on the other side. "Ah, Xiaoqin, you're finally here." Lu Zhiming looked at Xiaoqin gratefully, as if he had found his team. Before, he wanted to talk to Qing Minjing while they were having breakfast together. However, Jin Beibei's mouth kept pouting, and Lu Zhiming didn't have a chance to talk to Qing Minjing at all. He didn't dare to interrupt Jin Beibei, so he had to sit aside and listen to them bitterly. However, the 2 of them were talking about the plots in the TV series. Lu Zhiming couldn't understand them at all. He was really in the dark. He cursed the fishman too in his heart many times for the so-called campus belle's bodyguard. He couldn't even get a word in. However, Lu Zhiming secretly remembered the fishman too's WeChat ID, Urin22, and planned to add it after he went back. Then he would do somersaults on the ground to ask for a minor role. How awesome would it be if he appeared in the novel or the TV series? By then, Qing Minjing would definitely admire him. Chances were that she would fall in love with him immediately. Menjing Bebe, are you done? It's almost time for me to pack up and go to school, said Xiaoqin. Delicious. I want my cousin-in-law to feed me. After saying that, Jean Bebe glanced at Cheng Menjing complacently. Humph. Aren't you afraid that it's unhygienic to ask someone else to feed you? Cheng Menjing snorted and said in disdain. But she secretly said to herself, Xiaoqin, if you don't pick up the deep-fried dough sticks and put them in front of me, I will never be friends with you again. Hee hee. Jean Bebe glanced at Cheng Menjing with a faint smile, and then she opened her mouth wide. Xiaoqin knew that she wanted to eat deep-fried dough sticks. Therefore he picked up a deep-fried dough stick, injected some of his spiritual energy into it, and then stuffed it into Jean Bebe's mouth. Xiaoqin knew that she wanted to eat deep-fried dough sticks. Therefore he picked up a deep-fried dough stick, injected some of his spiritual energy into it, and then stuffed it into Jean Bebe's mouth. Here you are. Wow. Delicious. Delicious. Jean Bebe's mouth was covered with grease, and her eyes were narrowed into that of a kitten. She seemed to be very happy. Hey servant, bring one for me. Cheng Menjing was somewhat anxious. Judging from Jean Bebe's appearance, the deep-fried dough sticks seemed to be very delicious. Could it be that the deep-fried dough sticks that Xiaoqin fed her tasted different from the ones that Xiaoqin fried in batches? Servant? Lu Zhiming was a bit curious about the title, but he did not mind it. He said to Cheng Menjing, Menjing, do you want me to get one for you? No. I want Xiaoqin, the servant, to get one for me, said Cheng Menjing. Fine. Xiaoqin was speechless. His identity had been exposed. However, it was not a big deal. If Lu Zhiming wanted to pursue Cheng Menjing, as long as he went back to the Lu family and made some inquiries, he would know that he was Cheng Menjing's servant. What? Servant? Lu Zhiming looked at Xiaoqin in surprise. Menjing, Xiaoqin, what are you doing? Role-playing? It's nothing. I've been reduced to being Cheng Menjing's servant. The Cheng family hates me. Not only did they break off the engagement, they even asked me to be young Mrs. Servant for free. Otherwise they'll kill me. Xiaoqin shrugged and said with a bitter expression. So, you are Cheng Menjing's servant now. Lu Zhiming reacted as if he had heard big news. Then you. It's so hard. I have to go back to serve Miss and Xiao at night. I haven't had enough sleep, so I have to sell breakfast in the morning market on my own. It's as hard as it can be. Xiaoqin said with a bitter smile. D*MN, so you two live together? Lu Zhiming was a little envious, jealous, and hateful. He wanted nothing more than to replace them. However, when he thought about it, it was not quite possible. The Cheng family did this to torture and take revenge on Xiaoqin. He instantly understood the Cheng family's mindset. Killing a person is far less satisfying than torturing a person. Xiaoqin is so bitter every day. Old Master Cheng probably enjoys it, right? Cheng Menjing also knew that she had said something wrong. She shouldn't have told Lu Zhiming about this kind of thing. If he knew, wouldn't he hate Xiaoqin even more? What if he did something bad to Xiaoqin? However, Xiaoqin still had an indifferent expression. It's just a villa. There is a tenant upstairs. I live downstairs. Oh. Lu Zhiming thought it was reasonable. Cheng Menjing was Xiaoqin's fiancée before. They didn't live together. Now they had become servants. How could there be anything ambiguous? Thinking of this, he immediately felt at ease and his eyes even lit up. He patted Xiaoqin on the shoulder and said, Haha, so you're Menjing's assistant. Sorry for not recognizing you. In the future, I'll have to ask young Master Xiao to help me out. Lu Zhiming thought further. He didn't believe that Xiaoqin and Cheng Menjing could have any relationship. Besides, Xiaoqin already had Tang Tang. How could he still be with Cheng Menjing? And Xiaoqin was Cheng Menjing's servant. In that case, wouldn't it be easy for him to report the situation of the young lady to him? With such an insider, he could know the young lady's movements at any time. Would he worry about not being able to catch up with Cheng Menjing? Thinking of this, Lu Zhiming felt that he had to have a good relationship with Xiaoqin in the future. Didn't you see the ministers in ancient times? They all tried their best to have a relationship with the people around the emperor. Even if it was a eunuch, it was still very powerful. I don't have time to help you. I'm too busy and I have to sell fried dough sticks. Xiaoqin shrugged. Didn't you see the unreconciled look of the red hair just now? Maybe he will come to trouble me again. I don't have time to care about your business. Damn, how dare he? If he comes again, you tell me. I will kill him. Lu Zhiming patted his chest and said, Xiaoqin, don't worry. In the future, your business is my business. We are not related. Oh, thank you. Xiaoqin said gratefully. Qing Minjing was a little stunned. What is going on? After Lu Jinming knew that Xiaoqin lived with her, instead of hating Xiaoqin he began to please Xiaoqin? Is this person sick? Picking up the fried dough stick that Xiaoqin handed over, Qing Minjing glanced at it. It was no different from the previous one. However, after taking a bite she found that it was very delicious. It was really strange. Cherries can absorb the aura of medicinal herbs. Can the fried dough stick do the same? However, although the fried dough stick was delicious, Qing Minjing's appetite was limited. It was different from fruit. If she ate too much she would be stuffed to death. When she finished eating they should also pack up and go to school. When Xiaoqin closed the stall, there were still some fried dough sticks left. He hesitated and said to Tang Tang, "Tang Tang, you go and send some to Lin." Lin? Tang Tang was stunned, and then she realized that it was the girl from Lin's shop in the market. She nodded and packed some fried dough sticks and soy milk in a plastic bag. She walked into the market, and Xiaoqin began to close the stall on the tricycle. Lin? Miss Tang's ears were sharp. She immediately heard Xiaoqin say Lin's name and heard that he was going to send fried dough sticks to Lin. Miss Tang was a little unhappy. Chapter 133. Why was Lin in this market? No wonder Xiaoqin came here every day to set up a stall. It turned out that in addition to Tang Tang, there was also Lin, his little lover, here. You are blind. I am so beautiful at home but you just look at me. You run out every morning to either play with Tang Tang or send food to your little lover. Her family has a stall in front, selling beef noodles. Xiaoqin said. Oh, I heard that there is no beef at all in the beef noodles now. It is all blended with essence. Qing Minjing curled her lips. Xiaoqin didn't know how to answer this. Qing Minjing seemed to have some hostility to Lin. Was it because they were both campus belles? The young lady was a noble campus belle, and Lin was a commoner campus belle. Were they in the same school before? If Xiaoqin knew that the young lady didn't pay attention to his fiancée because he liked Lin before, he really didn't know what to say. She obviously didn't like him but she still cared about these things? But Xiaoqin didn't know that sometimes a girl's heart was so strange. Qing Minjing didn't like Xiaoqin before, and she despised him very much. But because he was her fiancé, she was unhappy to see him chasing another girl. Tang Tang came to the Lin's noodles stall. At this moment there were no customers. Lin was going to eat something by herself and then go to school. She was going to make some noodles by herself. However, before she made the noodles, Tang Tang came over there. Sister Lin. Sister? Why are you here? Lin looked at Tang Tang with some surprise. I saw that you didn't come to buy fried dough sticks today so I brought some for you. Tang Tang put the fried dough sticks and soy milk in front of Lin. I'm sorry to bother you. I'm a little busy at home today. Lin naturally couldn't say that her mother was afraid that she wouldn't be able to buy cheap fried dough sticks, so she didn't let her buy them. It doesn't matter. We are about to close the stall. There is nothing to do so I brought it to you, said Tang Tang. Okay. How much is it? I'll pay you. Lin quickly asked. After all, Tang Tang had sent it to her, and it would be inappropriate for her to refuse. She would buy it even at the original price. I don't want money anymore. Tang Tang smiled and waved her hand. Anyway, we've closed the stall and the extra ones can't be sold. You can have them. This? How can I accept this? Lin rubbed her hands together, not knowing what to do. It doesn't matter. Tang Tang lowered her voice and said, Xiaoqin asked me to send it. After that, Tang Tang turned around and left, leaving Sister Lin standing there in a daze. Did he send it to me? Why is he so good to me? He is already down and out but he still remembers me. Could it be? Does he really like me? Lin was at a loss. Hey dead girl, hurry up and bring the fried dough sticks over. I didn't expect that the little fat girl just now was quite generous. She sent you fried dough sticks. Mother Lin was very happy. Today I don't even have to spend money. I don't want money anymore. Then tomorrow you have to give me some board noodles. Do you understand? Lin Dongliang said, we can't always take advantage of others. We still have to repay others. Yes, I know. Lin Kur hurriedly nodded. Mother Lin felt that a few bowls of board noodles were nothing. It didn't matter if she gave it away so she didn't say anything and sat down to eat the fried dough sticks. Lin ate the fried dough sticks in small bites. Suddenly she felt that there was a feeling of love. No, Xiaoqin will definitely not pay attention to me as Cinderella. His former fiancée is Qing Minjing. Lin stopped dreaming. Even if Xiao Qin is kicked out of the Xiao family, he can't accept the reality so quickly now. He must pity you because you don't have money, so he gave you the fried dough sticks. Must be like this. Tang Tang returned to the previous booth. Xiao Qin had packed up his things and got on the tricycle. Tang Tang just wanted to get on the tricycle, but Xiao Qin waved his hand and said, Tang Tang, you take young Master Lu's car to school today. You don't have to take such a detour. I will send things to the grocery store myself. Can you do it? Tang Tang actually liked to be with Xiao Qin. She felt that taking a car was not as comfortable as walking to school with Xiao Qin. Okay, no problem. You can go back first, Xiao Qin said. Oh, okay. Tang Tang did not refuse. After all, it was not good for her to refuse. If she insisted on being with Xiao Qin, it would not be good for others to think that she liked Xiao Qin. Although, Cheng Minjing, Jin Beibei and Tang Tang got on Lu Jinming's car. The Land Rover drove out of the morning market street, and Xiao Qin sent things back to the old lady's grocery store. Early this morning, the bulletin board of the Warrior Guild actually posted a notice from the Jin family, which meant that Xiao Qin would be a friend of the Jin family in the future. Although it was only a sentence, it made people's imagination run wild. How did Xiao Qin get involved with the Jin family? However, it was hard to see the relationship between the two from the notice alone. Xiao Qin was a friend of the Jin family. This friend could be very close or it could be just an ordinary friend. However, it was just an ordinary friend. The Jin family did not need to spend so much money on advertising and go to the Warrior Guild to make this announcement. However, the advertisement didn't say much. Usually, this kind of announcement would say that so-and-so family and so-and-so family had reached an agreement, or that so-and-so family wanted to protect a certain person. If someone found trouble with that person, it would be considered an enemy of that family. However, Xiao Qin and the Jin clan had an indescribable strangeness to them. The clans that saw this could not make heads or tails of it. Kim family. Golden Fur Lion King Jin Zonghai and Jin Baobao's father, Jin Zongshan, were all sitting in Golden Fur Lion King's study. This announcement was made by Jin Zongshan himself. He didn't know the reason. Yesterday he had just visited a family in another city and wanted to find a wife for Jin Baobao. Therefore, he didn't know what had happened in the Jin family yesterday. He had not even reached home when he was sent to the Warrior Guild by Golden Fur Lion King's phone call. Although he was equally confused, the Jin family's tradition had always been that Old Master Jin's words carried enormous weight. Therefore, Jin Zongshan directly issued an announcement before returning to the Jin family. Father Yuan Xiao Qin. What's going on? Jin Zongshan asked with a strange expression. You don't understand? Golden Fur Lion King laughed and said, I want Beibei to marry Xiao Qin. What? Jin Zongshan was stunned. Of course he knew who Xiao Qin was. He was a good-for-nothing young master who had been driven out by the Xiao family and broken off his engagement with the Cheng family. Why did old Jin want Beibei to marry a good-for-nothing young master who was rejected by the Cheng family and the Xiao family? What kind of idea was that? However, Jin Zonghai was a little silent. After thinking for a while, he said, Father, I understand your idea. But didn't you say that you don't want Beibei to be a sacrifice for the family's interests? If she doesn't want to marry Xiao Qin, do you think I'm blind? Let me tell you, if Beibei doesn't want it, I'll be the first to oppose it. But look at Beibei's attitude toward Xiao Qin. Didn't you notice anything? Golden Fur Lion King asked. This. Jin Zonghai had to admit that Jin Beibei and Xiao Qin's relationship was very good. But they might just be good friends. Should we ask for Beibei's opinion? Yesterday I said that I wanted to give Xiao Qin a Jin Beibei. She didn't oppose it, did she? Golden Fur Lion King laughed and said, Don't you know your daughter well? If she didn't like him, she would have opposed it a long time ago. She wouldn't give face to me, her grandpa. That's true. Jin Zonghai thought for a moment. His father knew Jin Beibei better. The main problem right now is that even if we want to give Beibei to him, he might not want it. In my opinion, it seems that Xiao Qin is interested in Cheng Menjing. Golden Fur Lion King smacked his lips and said, Therefore whatever we say now is just our wishful thinking. It might not come true. Father's second brother, what are you talking about? Why can't I understand anything? Jin Zongshan looked at Golden Fur Lion King and Jin Zonghai in confusion. Isn't that Xiao Qin a useless young master? Why does it sound like he is very awesome? Ah, he is more than awesome. He is the best. Golden Fur Lion King slapped his thigh and stood up excitedly. You know what? Your father's injury has been cured. What? Recovered? Jin Zongshan stood up abruptly. Oh, Didn't your sect have no way to cure that injury? It's not that there was no way. It's just that with my status back then I couldn't get good treatment. Golden Fur Lion King sighed. However, it's true that many hospitals couldn't do anything. But since last night I've said goodbye to my injury completely. Is it related to Xiaoqin? Jin Zongshan wasn't stupid. Although he didn't want to believe it, old Master Jin had said so many things about Xiaoqin. At this time he mentioned his old injury. The result was self-evident when he put the two together. That's right. Although Xiaoqin is a good-for-nothing in the path of martial arts, it's precisely because he's a good-for-nothing in the path of martial arts that he's been studying medicine since he was young. He wants to solve the problems of his body. I didn't expect his attainments in the path of medicine to have already reached the pinnacle. My injuries were treated by him. Golden Fur Lion King nodded and said seriously, "You should know very well what medical attainment means, right?" "Of course I understand." Jin Zongshan's expression froze. He took a deep breath and said with some doubts, "But why didn't the Xiao family discover it before? Or why didn't the Qing family know about it? If they knew, would they give up on Xiaoqin? They would have fought for him long ago, right?" Chapter 134. I was a little puzzled before, Jin Zonghai said at this time, but it is an indisputable fact that my father has recovered from his injury. So, in my opinion, it should be because Xiaoqian's reputation as a useless young master was too famous. He studied medicine, but the two families didn't take it seriously. Moreover, no one asked him to treat them. So, the two families had no idea how good Xiaoqian was. At present, this is the reason that makes more sense. You are right. It is indeed so. As the saying goes, it is darkest under the light. Under their eyes, Xiaoqian's shortcoming of being a useless person was magnified infinitely, but no one discovered his advantage of medical skills. After hearing that, Jin Zongshan nodded in agreement. Father, in this case this Xiaoqian is really a talent. If he can join our Jin family, he will be the most powerful helper of our Jin family. That's right. This is also the reason why I asked you to make the announcement. Golden Fur Lion King said, "How can icing on the cake be more important than providing timely help?" Now Xiaoqin is a thorn in the Qing family's side. We made the announcement. At least, the Qing family dare not do anything to Xiaoqin in the future. It can be considered as a small favor for us to help Xiaoqin. That's true. At least the Qing family will stop here. Jin Zongshan agreed. But won't they suspect our purpose? Haha, we didn't make it clear. They may think that it is Jin Beibei's prank. Golden Fur Lion King said with a smile. In fact, after the announcement was made, all the families went back to study what was going on. Among them, the strangest was the Xiao family. At this moment, the Xiao family welcomed 3 guests. They were regular guests in the past, but now they were rare guests. The 3 of them were the head of the Qing family, Qing Tianqiu, and Qing Tianqiu's 2 sons, Qing Zhongming and Qing Zhongfan. The head of the Xiao family, Xiao Yuanshan, and Qing Tianqiu were sitting together on the main seats in the guest hall. Beside them was Xiao Yuanshan's son, Xiao Hai, and on the other side were Qing Zhongming and Qing Zhongfan. Brother-in-law, what brings you here all of a sudden? Xiao Yuanshan's gaze towards Qing Tianqiu was a little indifferent. The fate between our Xiao and Qing families has come to an end. You guys have mustered such a large force to come here today, it can't be that you are looking for trouble, right? My grandson has already been kicked out of the Xiao family. What more do you want? It could be seen that Xiao Yuanshan still had feelings for Xiaoqin. If it wasn't because he had no other choice, he definitely wouldn't do this. But now the Xiao family felt like the sun was setting in the west. The eldest son, Xiao Feng, was nowhere to be found. The entire Xiao family relied on the second son, Xiao Hai, to support them. And even if the Qing family lost their youngest son, they were still like the sun in the sky. Haha, Big Brother Zhao's words are wrong. Although Xiao Feng has already passed away, she is still your sworn sister. You will always be my big brother. Qing Tianqiu laughed. Alright, since that's the case, let's get down to business. Xiao Yuanshan rubbed his temples. This mess that came one after another really made him a little frustrated. I heard that the Jin family made an announcement that they have become friends with Xiaoqin? Qing Tianqiu asked. He came to probe Xiao Yuanshan. He suspected that the Xiao family gave the Jin family some benefits to make the Jin family do this. I don't know. Since Xiaoqin is no longer a member of our Xiao family, then I haven't paid attention to what he does and who he interacts with for a long time. Xiao Yuanshan said indifferently, moreover, isn't he working as a servant for Qing Menjing? Why don't you just ask Qing Menjing? Ah, it's okay. It seems that this matter has nothing to do with you. Qing Tianqiu didn't ask any more. In fact, he called Qing Minjing in the morning and asked what was the relationship between Xiao Chen and the Jin family. Qing Minjing's answer was that Xiao Chen and Jin Beibei were quite close, and the two of them were quite good friends. Therefore, the Qing family had suspected that Jin Beibei was behind it. It was basically impossible for a descendant of another family to influence the decision of the family. It was impossible even for the descendant of the family, let alone a woman. However, the family structure of the Jin family was different from that of other families. Jin Beibei was deeply loved by Old Master Jin. Even Old Master Jin dared to hack the foreign playboy to death when he teased her, which explained a lot of things. Therefore, when Jin Beibei and Xiao Chen played together, it would be easy and pleasant to ask Old Master Jin to make an announcement for them, wouldn't it? Since it was not done by the Xiao family, Qing Tianqiu didn't care too much about them. If Cheng Zhongfan hadn't mentioned it to him, he would have almost forgotten about Xiao Chen. He didn't care about his life or death. He came here today for another matter. Of course it doesn't matter. I wonder what brother-in-law has come for this time? Xiao Yuanshan asked indifferently. One more thing. Although Xiao Chen is the descendant of that B***starred Xiao Feng, he has been driven out of the Xiao family. The Cheng family and the Xiao family can't cut off our relationship because of this. We have always been in an alliance. Qing Tianqiu said. What do you mean by that? Xiao Yuanshan didn't quite understand. Why did Qing Tianqiu change from one moment to the next? What was his real purpose of coming here? Here's the thing. Zhongfan's son Meng Chang is 15 years old. In the past, he would be married and have children. However, in modern times, although we are all from families that practice ancient martial arts, we still have to abide by the rules of the secular world. However, we can get engaged first. Qing Tianqiu said, I heard that Xiao hasn't found a husband yet? Brother Xiao, why don't we play matchmaker? Xiao Yuanshan finally understood the purpose of Qing Tianqiu's visit. However, he felt that this matter wasn't so simple. There was something strange about it. Although it sounded impeccable, thinking about it carefully, a good horse doesn't return to the grass. This Cheng family broke off the engagement with the Xiao family and came to find the Xiao family for a marriage alliance. Although the target was different, it was equivalent to slapping themselves in the face. This kind of thing, under normal circumstances, the Qing family wouldn't do it. Why did this Qing Tianqiu say it out loud? Actually, Qing Tianqiu didn't want to come. He came here because of Qing Mingxiang's request. Qing Mingxiang was one of the more outstanding members of the Qing family besides Qing Zhongqian. Qing Zhongqian's disappearance made Qing Tianqiu sad, so he could only transfer his energy to Qing Mingxiang. In the past, although this third-generation descendant was outstanding, he wasn't as outstanding as Qing Zhongqian. Therefore, once Qing Zhongqian took over the position of the family head in the future, Qing Zhongqian's future son could be trained to be the third-generation successor. Therefore, Old Master Qing wasn't so anxious. After all, if he trained Qing Zhongqian and Qing Mingxiang at the same time, there would definitely be problems. In the end, Qing Zhongqian was only about 10 years older than Qing Mingxiang. It wasn't realistic to let Qing Mingxiang take over Qing Zhongqian's position. When that time came, it would inevitably cause a situation of internal strife. Old Master Qing wasn't stupid. Naturally, he didn't want to see this situation happen. Therefore, he didn't pay much attention to Qing Mingxiang before. But now he had to help Qing Mingxiang take over. Otherwise, wouldn't the Qing family have no successor? Therefore, after Qing Mingxiang was confirmed to be the third-generation successor of the Qing family also had to choose a marriage partner for him. However, Qing Mingxiang firmly expressed that he liked Xiao. Qing Tianqiu had just said that all the cultivation resources of the Qing family would be given to Qing Mingxiang so that he could grow up as soon as possible and become the pillar of the Qing family. Therefore, he didn't want to reject Qing Mingxiang's first request. Anyway, the Qing family and the Xiao family had a good relationship in the past. It wasn't a big deal for them to get married again, but it would be a little embarrassing. However, when people lived to the age of Old Master Qing, those things like reputation and whatnot were not as important as family benefits. Reputation was something that young and vigorous masters fought for. Qing Tianqiu was an old fox. For the sake of benefits, he could even be shameless. Yes, it's Xiao. Qing Tianqiu nodded his head and said, a fair and graceful lady is a gentleman's desire. After my family's Meng Chang saw Xiao, he was shocked. So, didn't I, your brother-in-law, thicken my face and come to ask for your hand in marriage? This matter is of great importance. Let me think about it and ask for Xiao Zhao's opinion. Xiao Yuanshan didn't immediately agree. He only expressed that he needed to think about it. Why do we still need to discuss this matter with Xiao Xiao? Parents' orders and matchmakers' words. As the elders, we only need to nod our heads. Cheng Tianqiu saw that Xiao Yuanshan didn't agree and instantly felt unhappy in his heart. The Cheng family was the head of the 9 families. To be able to get married with the Xiao family again was already giving the Xiao family enough face. But this Xiao Yuanshan still used all sorts of excuses to reject it. We didn't discuss it in the past. In the end, Chinner's marriage didn't go so smoothly. A dignified fiancé has become a servant. Alas, Xiao Yuanshan sighed. That's why I said that there's a risk in a marriage alliance. You need to be careful when nodding your head. Cheng Tianqiu's face darkened. He was just about to flare up when Cheng Zhongfan hurriedly pulled on Cheng Tianqiu's arm. If he really flamed up, there would basically be no room for negotiation. Cheng Zhongfan didn't want that to happen. He hurriedly said, "Father, Uncle Xiao is right. We should consider it." Okay. Cheng Tianqiu took a deep breath and then he said to Xiao Yuanshan, "Big brother Xiao, think about it properly and give me an answer as soon as possible. Even you know that Meng Chang is the 3rd-generation successor of the Qing clan, so there are plenty of people who can help him with matchmaking." "Alright, I'll consider it carefully." Xiao Yuanshan nodded. "Since it's like that, then we'll be taking our leave." Cheng Tianqiu brought Cheng Zhongming, who hadn't said a word from the beginning, and left the Xiao family with Cheng Mingxiang's father, Cheng Zhongfan. Xiao Hai. After they left, Xiao Yuanshan looked at Xiao Hai and said, "Tell me, what does Cheng Tianqiu want?" What? Xiao Hai was stunned. Isn't he here to propose marriage? Chapter 135. The marriage proposal is not bad, but this matter isn't that simple. Xiao Yuanshan frowned. "I still can't figure out the Qing family's thoughts. I'll just take it one step at a time. If the Cheng family's Cheng Mingxiang marries Xiao Xiao, then we can plead for Xiao Qin to return home. Xiao Hai, what do you think?" Xiao Yuanshan asked word by word. Meh. Xiao Hai was stunned, looking at his father's aggressive gaze. He immediately knew that his father had misunderstood him, bitterly smiled and said, "Dad, it's been so many years I haven't thought about fighting for the family head position. In the past, I was young and didn't want to admit defeat. I felt that I wouldn't lose to my big brother, but now, I'll just do business honestly." "But, father, you mean?" Xiao Yuanshan nodded noncommittally. "I heard that before Xiao Qin became Cheng Minjing's servant, you went to see Cheng Zhongming?" Xiao Hai's heart trembled. He didn't think that his father would know about this matter, but Xiao Hai was a bit puzzled. Back then when Xiao Qin was chased out of the Xiao family, the person who was the most determined was Xiao Yuanshan, but from Xiao Yuanshan's actions today, it seemed that he had the intention of protecting Xiao Qin. Then, did his father still care about Xiao Qin, or was he already disappointed in him? "Please forgive me, father." Xiao Qin lowered his head and said, "When I was young, although I quarreled with big brother, I always treated Xiao Qin as my own. Because of this matter, Xiao Xiao and I quarreled many times. It was indeed me who found Cheng Zhongming to give Xiao Qin a temporary place to stay." So back then in the tea house, the well-dressed man was Xiao Hai. Xiao Qin had really misunderstood him. "You've done well." Xiao Yuanshan nodded indifferently. "Your big brother has gone missing. Qin is no longer a member of the Xiao family. I will find a suitable opportunity to announce that you are the successor of the family head." "What?" Xiao Hai was instantly stunned. He didn't think that Xiao Yuanshan would say such a thing after talking for so long, causing him to be at a loss. "Father, I never thought of becoming the patriarch." "I know, but Xiao family, only you are left." Xiao Yuanshan waved his hand, interrupting Xiao Hai's words. "My son, I can still see clearly, not like Cheng Tianqiu, that old fool, thinking that he is old and wise, but actually he is already old." "Father, you mean?" Xiao Hai was stunned. "I'm not sure. Old people tend to be paranoid. I hope it's just my imagination." Xiao Yuanshan didn't continue but changed the topic. "Qin, what's going on with the Jin family?" "I'm not sure about that. I was just about to investigate when the Qing family came." Xiao Hai said honestly. "Okay, go and investigate it immediately, then write back to me." Xiao Yuanshan ordered. "Yes." Xiao Hai hurriedly nodded and walked out of the room to investigate. Xiao Yuanshan, who was originally full of energy, suddenly slumped on the chair. He stretched out his left hand, flipped open his sleeve and looked at the shocking black line on his wrist. He sighed dejectedly. "The poison has risen another step and I don't know when it entered the heart. With my strength I can slow down the spread of the poison, but I can't completely stop it." My son Xiao Feng has gone missing, and my grandson Xiao Chen has been chased out of the Xiao family. Does the heavens want my Xiao family to die or? Xiao Yuanshan closed his eyes and fell into deep thought. A young man with a somewhat sinister expression sat in an RV. He was currently holding onto a phone and listening to the angry roar on the other side of the phone. Why isn't Xiao Chen dead yet? Do you know how to do things? Let me tell you, I can raise you up, and similarly I can raise others up. If I haven't heard news of Xiao Chen's death in these few days, then you know the consequences. I understand, please don't worry, I will definitely send Xiao Chen on his way as soon as possible. The young man's tone and his expression were inversely proportional, even if his expression was already extremely angry, but his current tone was still so respectful and apologetic. There was no other way, his fate had long been linked with the other party, and he had too many blackmail points in the other party's hands. Moreover, in the future he would also need to rely on the other party's support. Because the other party's offer was simply too tempting, making him unable to reject. The other party didn't say anything else and hung up the phone, making the young man a little depressed. But he still quickly adjusted his emotions and walked out of the RV. Young master, you don't need me to send you? The man who looked like a butler asked carefully. No need, I'll drive myself. The young man waved his hand and without turning his head, he walked towards an Audi A8L. Since the Qing family and the Xiao family had seen the announcement, the Chao family and the Qin family naturally saw it too. Chao Yuliang and Qin Jinping got together as soon as they got the news. Brother Liang, what the hell is the Jin family doing? Qin Jinping hated Xiao Qin to death now. Because of Xiao Qin, the relationship between him and Xin Jingxian had become tense, and Xin Jingxian hadn't gone on a date with him since then. Seeing Chao Yuliang get out of an Audi, Qin Jinping hurriedly went up to him and said, I feel that Jin Beibei can get together with Xiao Qin. Chao Yuliang did not suspect that there was anything going on between Xiao Qin and Cheng Menjing. What he suspected most was Jin Beibei. Since the last time they went out together, Chao Yuliang had discovered that the relationship between Jin Beibei and Xiao Qin was not ordinary. Had Jin Beibei fallen in love with Xiao Qin? Now that he thought about it, it was quite possible. Otherwise, with Jin Beibei's character, how could she not have cheated Xiao Qin? How was that possible? Besides, the children of other noble families could not decide their own marriage, but Jin Beibei was different. Jin Beibei was the apple of the gold fur lion king's eye. If she said that she liked Xiao Qin, whether or not Xiao Qin was a good-for-nothing, the gold fur lion king would probably not care at all. The more he thought about it, the more likely it seemed. Chao Yuliang's face became even more awful. Could it be that Xiao Qin was going to make a comeback again? That was absolutely impossible. Honestly speaking, I'm not so sure about that. Qin Jinping nodded in agreement. Although Jin Beibei is weird and mischievous, that is only for us. She is quite nice to Xiao Qin. If Jin Beibei's shortcomings are ignored, Jin Beibei is also very nice to her. She has a youthful face and a sexy body. She is a dream goddess for everybody. Now that Xiao Qin is under the protection of the Jin family, we cannot mess with him blatantly. Chao Yuliang sighed. That won't do. Brother Liang, we have to figure something out. Xiao Qin is too arrogant. Not only did he cheat us of so much money last time, but his tone was also quite aggressive. He did not respect you at all, Brother Liang. We cannot let him go so easily. Thinking that Xiao Qin and Jin Beibei might be in cahoots, Qin Jinping hated Xiao Qin even more. That was two cars. If we don't let him go easily, what else can we do? It's not like we can kill him in secret, right? Chao Yuliang said casually, but he was secretly amused. If you don't say it, it will be too abrupt if I say that I will kill Xiao Qin directly. In such a case, you want to kill Xiao Qin too. Then we will be in the same boat. Although it seemed that Chao Yuliang had taken in Qin Jinping, who used to be Xiao Qin's lackey, to piss off Xiao Qin, was he not taking advantage of him too? Chao Yuliang was a man who knew how to be patient. He was also very ambitious, which could be seen from the capability that he had been concealing. Xiao Qin's capability was not concealing but something that he had just gained. Chao Yuliang, on the other hand, was an expert at the peak of the third level of internal force. Yes, we have to kill Xiao Qin first. Qin Jinping nodded in agreement after hearing that. Otherwise, if the guy really hooks up with Jin Beibei, won't we be killed by them? Brother Liang, you know what kind of person Jin Beibei is, don't you? Yes, you're right. After Xiao Qin makes a comeback, he will certainly not let go of us. Chao Yuliang nodded and said, however, the Jin family is now protecting him. What can we do? If we can't kill him directly, we can take a roundabout route. Qin Jinping thought for a moment and said, Xiao Qin is arrogant and greedy. We can cater to his interests. For example, we can ask him to race a car and create an accident during the race. Or we can gamble with money and then bet our lives with him. Well, the two methods that you mentioned are indeed feasible. Chao Yuliang's eyes shone after hearing that. This Qin Jinping was not a complete idiot after all. He was rather smart. Other things aside, Xiao Chen's greed for money was obvious to all. Even if he and Jin Beibei got together, Jin Beibei was just as greedy. More importantly, the Jin family did not have much money either. If Xiao Chen wanted money, he would have to resort to other methods. Therefore, Chao Yuliang felt that as long as he played the trick well and used money as the bait, Xiao Chen would definitely be fooled. Is that so? Brother Liang, you think it's feasible too? Qin Jinping was totally talking nonsense. He liked racing and gambling, so he used the trick without thinking. He did not expect that Chao Yuliang would really agree with him. It's feasible. Chao Yuliang nodded and said, "You used to work for Xiao Chen. Tell me, does Xiao Chen like racing or gambling?" "Oh, I think he likes both a little, but he is not too addicted to them." Qin Jinping did not dare to lie. He could only tell the truth. But he usually plays with cars more. He used to have a Porsche 911, and he asked me to modify it for him. Fine. Let's race a car. Put a bigger prize on it so that he cannot refuse it. Chao Yuliang was a little anxious. Anyway, he had to test whether the trick would work or not. Contact him later and ask for his opinion. Okay. Qin Jinping nodded quickly. If he agrees, what should we do? You don't have to worry about that. I'll arrange it. Chao Yuliang was still worried about Qin Jinping. It would be fine if he got Qin Jinping to contact Xiao Qin, but if Qin Jinping really prepared these things, it would be terrible if he messed things up. Chapter 136. When Xiao Qin returned to school, Lu Jinming had already arrived. Glancing at the Land Rover in the parking lot, Xiao Qin was about to go to the teaching building when another Land Rover roared past Xiao Qin. If it weren't for Xiao Qin's quick reaction as a cultivator, he would have almost scratched the rearview mirror. Looking at the Land Rover braking beautifully and stopping in the parking lot, Xiao Qin frowned slightly. This was Qi Zhigao's car, and his sister Xiao Xiao was also sitting in the car. If it were any other time, Xiao Qin might go over and beat him up again. Anyway, he had Lu Jinming and Yu Xiaochuan to back him up. What was there to be afraid of? However, Xiao Xiao was also there, which made Xiao Qin sigh in the end. His cousin had a good relationship with Xiao Qin when they were young. He didn't know when it started, but after Xiao Qin was called a useless young master and a playboy, Xiao Xiao gradually drifted away from him. However, regardless of whether Xiao Xiao hated him or not, Xiao Qin decided to forget it. In Xiao Qin's heart, Xiao Xiao was still the little girl who followed him all day and asked him to take her out to play. The sister who only knew how to sweetly call him brother, brother. Although Xiao Qin was no longer a member of the Xiao family, this inseparable family affection still made Xiao Qin not find trouble with Qi Zhigao again. However, he didn't find trouble with Qi Zhigao, but Qi Zhigao found trouble with him. Isn't this young master Xiao Qin? Qi Zhigao jumped out of the car and looked at Xiao Qin sarcastically. What's the matter? Without young master Xiao Chuan to back you up today, are you a coward? Xiao Qin looked at Qi Zhigao coldly. Today, Qi Zhigao didn't cross his bottom line, so Xiao Qin was too lazy to care about him. What? Wanna leave? Stop right there. Qi Zhigao was quite aggrieved 2 days ago. Not only was he beaten by Xiao Qin, but his car was also smashed. Although Yu Xiaochuan helped to mediate, when Qi Zhigao saw Xiao Qin again, he was still furious. Did you forget the pain after the scar healed? Xiao Qin stopped and looked at Qi Zhigao coldly. Ha 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 ha. After Qi Zhigao heard this, he suddenly laughed crazily. Xiao Xiao, did you hear what your useless brother said? You're still acting tough in front of me at a time like this? Xiao Xiao got out of the car and frowned. However, she said, if you're willing to stoop to his level, you can stay here. I'm the speaker for the morning self-study session. I'll be leaving first. Hey, wait for me, I'll go too. Qi Zhigao's anger suddenly disappeared. He quickly followed Xiao Xiao and ran toward the direction of the middle school department. However, before he left, he didn't forget to stare at Xiao Qin. In fact, with Xiao Qin's strength, Qi Zhigao's stage 3 inner force was nothing to be afraid of. It was just that Xiao Qin was too lazy to care about him. Anyway, Xiao Xiao seemed to have a good impression of Qi Zhigao. At least, she didn't reject him. It was hard to say whether the two of them would end up together. Xiao Qin didn't want to embarrass Xiao Xiao too much. Walking in the direction of the teaching building, Xiao Chen's phone rang. He picked up the phone and saw that it was actually Qin Jinping. Little Peng, what's up? By the way, is Chao Yuliang okay? He's not dead, right? Xiao Chen picked up the phone. Brother Liang is fine. Qin Jinping coughed twice and said, well, young Master Xiao, do you look like you're short of money? How do you know? What's the matter? Is there any activity that requires my appearance fee? Xiao Chen asked. The only topic that he could talk about with Qin Jinping was money. As for whether the mastermind behind the scenes was Chao Yuliang, Qin Jinping probably didn't know. Chao Yuliang was such a patient person that it was impossible for him to tell his affairs to a fool like Qin Jinping. Although he got a total of 1.9 million yuan from the underground competition that day, the appearance fee given by Qin Jinping and the tip given by Miss Xiao totaled 350,000 yuan, and he spent 500,000 yuan on medicine. He still had 1.75 million yuan left. It seemed to be a lot, but who knew whether the price of medicine would increase next time? If the price increased, it was uncertain whether the money would be enough to buy a medicine. Cultivation really burned money. Ah yes, there is indeed an appearance fee. Qin Jinping was really afraid that Xiao Chen wasn't short of money. Now it seemed that Xiao Chen was still a poor man who was greedy for money. This is the case. Bolong Mountain Road has recently started to hold an underground racing competition. Have you forgotten that we won money in the past? Oh, it seems so. Xiao Chen nodded after listening, but he asked calmly, what does that have to do with me? Xiao Chen, didn't you just get a Porsche 991 from me? You could win the previous 911. Now you can win even more. Qin Jinping said, are you going to participate in the competition? Should I help you sign up? Are you addicted to being my underling? Now you still want to help me sign up? Xiao Chen was baffled. Does Qin Jinping have nothing better to do? He actually has the mind to care about this kind of thing? It was true that many of Xiao Chen's things were done by Qin Jinping in the past, but now Qin Jinping was so active. It would be strange if there was no problem. As for that race, it was a complete fluke. The driver's car broke down, so Xiao Chen won. Of course, with Xiao Chen's arrogant performance at the time, he must have deliberately ignored this external factor. Ah yeah, you don't say. I'm a bit of a masochist. I like to be someone else's underling. If I don't do it, I will feel bad. Qin Jinping said, how about it, Xiao Chen? Do you want to earn some extra money? When? Let me think about it, said Xiao Chen. Tomorrow night, said Qin Jinping. Okay, I'll call you when I think about it. In fact, Xiao Chen didn't have to participate in this kind of racing competition, because the money won in a race wasn't much. It was only 200,000 yuan. The risk was quite high. However, for the playboys who pursued excitement, these races were still very refreshing, so there were many people who went to race every night. The reason why Xiao Chen agreed was that Qin Jinping's words were a bit strange. He said that he was used to being an underling, but it was simply bullsh*t. He was used to being an underling of Chao Yuliang. How could he come back to look for Xiao Chen? Therefore this matter was obvious. The reason why Qin Jinping looked for him was because of Chao Yuliang's instruction. Why did Chao Yuliang look for him? If he was really the behind-the-scenes manipulator, then there was only one purpose for him to find me, and that was to kill me. Xiao Chen really didn't know how he had offended this guy. It was true that the two of them were at loggerheads in school, but it wasn't to the point where they were at each other's throats. Chao Yuliang had tried to kill him time and time again, so Xiao Chen could only link him to his father's disappearance. Perhaps it was a series of conspiracies. Since he had already locked on the target, Xiao Chen wanted to have more contact with Chao Yuliang. Only with more contact could he be sure that the behind-the-scenes manipulator was not him. If there was someone who wanted to kill him in the race, it would undoubtedly be Chao Yuliang. After hanging up the phone, Xiao Chen walked into the teaching building, but he saw an acquaintance. It was Yu Xiaochuan, who he hadn't seen for a long time. Seeing Xiao Chen, Yu Xiaochuan's face suddenly showed a smile. Young Master Xiao, how have you been? I heard from Lu Zi that you two have a good relationship recently? And young Master Lu has been taking good care of me. Xiao Chen nodded. That's good. You two are my good friends. It's best if you can get along well. Yu Xiaochuan was actually quite puzzled. He bumped into Lu Jinming this morning and wanted to talk to him about Xiao Chen. He didn't expect Lu Jinming to say that he and Xiao Chen had been getting along very well recently, and the two were already good friends. This made Yu Xiaochuan inexplicable. Didn't Lu Jinming hate Xiao Chen so much that he couldn't wait to kill him immediately? However, since Lu Jinming and Xiao Chen had a good relationship, Yu Xiaochuan was also relieved. Tang Fangbai, the old man, was an old fox. He didn't agree to break off the engagement, nor did he say that he wouldn't break off the engagement. He just dragged it on. It seemed that he wanted more benefits. Yu Xiaochuan planned to talk to him in a few days. At this critical moment, if Xiaochen was killed by Lu Jinming, then Tang Tang would fall into his hands again. By the way, Qi Zhigao seemed to be very unhappy with me this morning. Young Master Kun, I'm a little scared. Can he beat me up? Xiaochen said weakly. That can't be. If there's anything you can find me or Lu Zi. In this school, our words are still very useful. As for Qi Zhigao, I'll go and warn him. Yu Xiaochuan said quickly. Okay, then let's talk more, young Master Kun. Xiaochen waved his hand at him and turned around to enter the classroom. Yu Xiaochuan took a deep breath. This Xiaochen really took him as a troublemaker. However, he had to help him. After all, he wanted Xiaochen to live a long life. When Xiaochen entered the classroom, he saw Qing Minjing and Jin Beibei whispering something. He didn't care about it but walked to Tang Tang and sat down beside her. In fact, what Xiaochen didn't know was that the eldest Miss and Jin Beibei were talking about him. Beibei, what's going on? Just now, my family called me and asked me about the relationship between Xiaochen and the Jin family. Why did your family announce in the Warriors Guild that Xiaochen is your family's friend? Qing Minjing asked. Didn't Xiaochen say that he didn't want others to know his medical skills? I don't know. Maybe Grandpa is afraid that someone will bully my cousin-in-law. Jin Beibei said, anyway, he didn't say that he has medical skills. It doesn't matter. It just so happens that some small fries dare not trouble my cousin-in-law anymore. Okay. Qing Minjing was a little hesitant. Should she tell Grandpa the truth? If she told him, Grandpa would definitely find out how powerful Xiaochen was. At that time, as long as the Qing family didn't pursue it, it would be reasonable for him to return to the Xiao family. However, did that mean that the engagement between him and her was going to be restored? For a moment, Qing Minjing was a little worried. Chapter 137. However, after thinking about it, Xiaochen didn't say it himself. Why should I say it? If I tell the Qing family that I have medical skills, Grandpa will definitely not treat me like this, right? At that time, it's not impossible for him to ask me to be his fiancé. It must be that he doesn't want it to be like this. Blind man. Bad guy. Bastard. I'm not that cheap to take the initiative to say it. Go to hell. Xiaochen sneezed. It seems that someone is talking about me? And it's most likely that Qin Jinping went to report to Chao Yuliang, right? They are probably discussing how to deal with me. Xiaochen sat on the seat. Zheng Xiaoquan turned around and looked at Xiaochen with a strange expression. Why are you looking at me like this? Xiaochen was a little scared by Zheng Xiaoquan's gaze. Is there something on my face? Xiaochen, what's going on with you and the Jin family? Zheng Xiaoquan asked suspiciously after a long time. Me and the Jin family? Xiaochen was shocked. Could it be that the news that Elder Jin was cured by me spread out? Although this may allow Xiaochen to have the possibility of returning to the Xiao family, Xiaochen didn't want to for the time being. He must investigate the mastermind behind the scenes and the real reason for his father's disappearance. How could a powerful martial artist disappear just like that without any news at all? It was completely unreasonable. Yeah, this morning the Jin family released a notice in the Warrior Guild, saying that you are a friend of the Jin family. Zheng Xiaoquan looked at Xiaochen's expression. I'm afraid that Xiaochen doesn't know about this? The Jin family is my friend? Xiaochen was stunned and then he asked curiously, and then? There's no then. It's just a sentence without any rhyme or reason. That's why I asked you what happened to you and the Jin family. Zheng Xiaoquan shrugged and said curiously. I don't even know about this. Who should I ask? Xiaochen was a little relieved. I just went to Jin's house to play for a while last night. Who knew it would be like this? It seemed that old Master Jin was a person who kept his promise. As for why he said that he was a friend of the Xiao family, perhaps it was because he was afraid that some people would target him because he was kicked out of the Xiao family. With old Master Jin's relationship, under normal circumstances, no one would dare to do anything to him openly. Wait, if Zheng Xiaoquan knew about this, then it was impossible that Qin Jinping and Chao Yuliang didn't know about it. Why did they still want to race with me after receiving this news? Xiaochen did not believe that Qin Jinping was really kind enough to remind him to go racing to make money. Although Xiaochen's driving skills were not bad, it was basically impossible for him to win on a professional track. If there was no problem, Xiaochen would not believe it himself. It was impossible for Chao Yuliang to scam him out of money. Chao Yuliang would not go through so much trouble to get Qin Jinping to race with him just to scam him out of $200,000. There was no need to do so unless he had nothing better to do. So, with the Jin family's announcement, why did they still target him? Did Chao Yuliang have the courage to go against the Jin family? It seemed like Qin Jinping was so scared that he pissed his pants. Since it was unlikely, why not? Could it be that after Chao Yuliang saw the Jin family's announcement, he was so anxious to deal with me? Otherwise, why didn't he mention racing at dinner last night, but only this morning? The more he thought about it, the more likely it was. In this way, these things could be explained. Chao Yuliang saw the Jin family's announcement, so he wanted to kill me as soon as possible. What benefits did the Jin family's announcement bring to me? Except that I might be able to turn over a new leaf and return to the Xiao family, it didn't seem to affect Chao Yuliang too much, right? Unless Chao Yuliang didn't want me to return to the Xiao family. Thinking of this possibility, Xiaoqin could not help but nod secretly. So, when I was kicked out of the Xiao family, Chao Yuliang should also be involved. What kind of role did he play? Did he fan the flames and provoke the relationship between the Xiao family and the Qing family? Or, the disappearance of my father also had something to do with Chao Yuliang? However, Chao Yuliang was just a warrior at the peak of the 3rd level of internal force. He was one of the best among the younger generation, but he was nothing among the warriors. How could he make such a big noise and make a master at the 8th level of internal force, Xiao Feng, and a master at the 7th level of internal force, Qing Zhongqin, disappear? If Chao Yuliang really did it, Xiaoqin had to wonder if he was also possessed by a powerful soul. Otherwise, how could he be so powerful? On the other hand, this incident made Xiaoqin even more determined to go to Mountain Fighting Dragon the next day. Not for anything else but to confirm if Chao Yuliang was that person. As long as he had a goal, it would be much easier in the future. What? That's it? Zheng Xiaoqin was a little puzzled after hearing it. Actually, it's that simple. Xiaoqin nodded. Then, as if he suddenly recalled something, he said, "By the way, wasn't Jean Beibe's car stolen at noon that day? I found it for her. Later, old Master Jean invited us to dinner and thanked me. Oh, by the way, there's another thing." Zheng Xiaoqin remembered that Tang, him, and Xiaoqin were going to have lunch at noon that day when they were called away by Jean Beibe. However, he was a little surprised. "Did you find the car? How did you find it?" "That's easy," Xiaoqin said with a bitter smile. "Jean Beibe stole the car from Qin Jinping. Since it was lost, the biggest suspect was naturally Qin Jinping. I took them to Qin Jinping's house and found it. Puff. That explains a lot. It's that simple." Zheng Xiaoqin was greatly enlightened. "That's probably it. I'm told that old Master Jean is a straightforward man. If he likes you, he likes you. If he doesn't like you, he doesn't like you. If you make Jean Beibe happy, he must think that you are a nice guy. So, he did you a favor at little cost so that you wouldn't be bullied again. However, it seems that Lu Jinming hasn't been bothering you recently, has he?" "Yes, he wants me to help him chase Qing Minjing and he even gave me money." Xiaoqin didn't hide this matter. It wasn't important anyway. What? Zheng Xiaoqin's eyes widened. "You help Lu Jinming chase Qing Minjing? Is this for real? You agreed?" Tang had been listening. Hearing that Xiaoqin was going to help Lu Jinming chase Qing Minjing, she could not help but interject. "Isn't she your goddess? How can you help him?" "Ah, you two are so serious." Xiaoqin could not help but laugh. "I can't even chase her myself. How can I help him? If I really have that ability, I will chase her myself. Only an idiot like him will believe me." Ha, that's what I said." Zheng Xiaoqin burst out laughing. That was true. If Xiaoqin could catch up, he would have already caught up. Would it be his turn to help him catch up? Tang curled her lips and did not say anything. Nothing important happened that day. In the evening, Xiaoqin returned home. He still walked back. Qing Minjing was sent back by Jean Beibe. Their car was parked at the school in the morning. The first thing he did was to turn on the electric clay pot and begin to boil the medicine. Then he went to the kitchen to cook for the young lady. He bought a lot of vegetables in the fruit store yesterday, and they came in handy tonight. When he was cooking, he happened to meet Yi Xiaoye, who came downstairs. Seeing that Xiaoqin was cooking, she hesitated for a moment and walked over. She said, "Later, I will boil some medicine in the kitchen. Can you tell Qing Minjing that you made it?" Xiaoqin was slightly stunned. "My electric clay pot is broken. I didn't have time to buy a new one. If I boil the medicine in the kitchen, I'm afraid that your young lady will be busy," Yi Xiaoye said. "Is that so? No problem. Give me the medicinal ingredients and I'll brew it for you," Xiaoqin agreed readily. After all, when he did not have an electric clay pot, Yi Xiaoya lent him one. Even though she gave it to him because of Jin Beibei, Xiaoqin still owed her a favor. In the past, Xiaoqin couldn't be any poorer, and the electric cooker was a huge expense. If it weren't for Yi Xiaoya, Xiaoqin wouldn't have found such a good thing. When had the previous young master Xiao ever heard of such a thing? It was even more impossible for the elder heaven ancestor to know about it. Therefore, if it were not for Yi Xiaoya, Xiaoqin would probably still be boiling medicine in the kitchen every day under the young lady's disdain. Well, okay. Yi Xiaoya wanted to boil it herself, but if Cheng Minjing saw it, it would be difficult to explain. Could she say that she helped Xiaoqin boil the medicine? Obviously it would be a lie. But you must boil it for 3 hours, no more and no less. Don't worry. I will keep an eye on it for you, Xiaoqin nodded and said. Thank you. Yi Xiaoya nodded and put a bag of medicine on the counter next to Xiaoqin. Then she turned around and went upstairs. This girl was pretty and had a good figure, but she was too cold. Looking at Yi Xiaoya's back, Xiaoqin shook his head secretly. If Yi Xiaoya's character was a little better, he would definitely ask her about the bitter fruit. In that case he would not have spent so much money on the herbs. However, Yi Xiaoya was so unapproachable that it was difficult for Xiaoqin to have any contact with her. After cooking, Xiaoqin put Yi Xiaoya's herbs into the clay pot. He adjusted the size of the flame and began to boil it slowly. Then he used his phone to send a message to the young lady, asking her to come down to eat. After a while he saw Cheng Minjing yawning and coming down from upstairs. You're sleeping? Xiaoqin looked at the young lady's face, which looked like a red apple. It was quite cute. He couldn't help but be slightly surprised. Cheng Minjing didn't sleep so early, right? And my body is a little uncomfortable. I fell asleep after lying down for a while. Cheng Minjing nodded and sat in front of the dining table. Uncomfortable? Xiaoqin looked at the young lady's weak look and asked quickly, where are you uncomfortable? Chapter 138. It's nothing. Let's eat. Cheng Minjing shook her head. What's wrong? Don't forget that I'm a doctor. Xiaoqin was a little puzzled. Why is the mist still hiding? I asked Xiaoqin, why are you so annoying? Cheng Minjing finally lost her patience. Can't my relative come? You're a doctor. Can you drive her back? Relative? Xiaoqin was stunned. Someone came to this villa? He subconsciously raised his head and looked around. What relative? Someone you don't want to see? Is it the child of your second uncle? Xiaoqin knew that Cheng Minjing was the child of her second uncle, Cheng Mingqiang. He always had a very deep look, which was completely inconsistent with his age. Xiaoqin used to think that he deserved a beating. Cheng Minjing was going crazy. Can't this guy use his brain? Can't he understand? She stared at Xiaoqin and said fiercely, I'm on my period. Do you understand? No wonder you have such a big temper. Xiaoqin suddenly realized. It turned out to be this relative. What? Do you dislike my temper? Cheng Minjing glared at Xiaoqin. How can that be? Xiaoqin smiled quickly. If that's more like it. Cheng Minjing nodded, picked up the chopsticks and started eating. However, the delicious food made her temporarily forget her stomachache. After eating a few mouthfuls, Yi Xiaoya's medicine was boiling in the kitchen. There was a strong smell of medicine. Cheng Minjing couldn't help but wrinkle her nose. Xiaoqin, are you brewing medicine in the kitchen? Because the kitchen and the dining room were connected, the smell quickly spread over. And today's medicine needs to be brewed with fire. Xiaoqin nodded and carried it on his body. Oh. Cheng Minjing didn't say anything but continued to eat, which surprised Xiaoqin. In fact, Cheng Minjing didn't have any objection to Xiaoqin brewing medicine. She also hoped that Xiaoqin's body could get better and cultivate internal energy. After a period of contact, she felt that Xiaoqin wasn't that annoying in other aspects, except for being blind. Tomorrow will be fine. Today is the only day, Xiaoqin said. Nothing. Cheng Minjing shook her head. After taking a sip of water, she said, Oh right, I heard from my family that today, my grandfather went to propose marriage to Meng Chang. His partner is Xiao Xiao. When she said this, Cheng Minjing's feelings were a little complicated. It was an indescribable sense of loss. If the Cheng family and the Xiao family got married again, then perhaps Xiaoqin would return to the Xiao family again, but she would no longer have any relationship with him. It was impossible for a family to get married to another family twice in the same generation. It was unnecessary and a waste of resources. Originally, Cheng Minjing would be very happy if she could completely have nothing to do with Xiaoqin, right? However, after spending time with him, Qing Minjing didn't want Xiao Chen to leave, because she was very comfortable with this servant. When Qing Minjing heard about this from her family, she was in a bad mood because of her stomach pain. She laid on the bed and fell asleep after thinking about it. When it was time to eat, she told Xiao Chen. What? Xiao Xiao. Xiao Chen was stunned after listening to Qing Minjing's words. Qing Mingqiang wants to marry Xiao Xiao? What is the Qing family up to? At this moment, Xiao Chen seemed to have caught something in his mind, but it was just a flash. Qing family? Xiao family? Another marriage? Xiao Chen shook his head. The thought of that moment had already disappeared. Xiao Chen thought about it, but he couldn't think of any reason. He felt a little sorry for Xiao Xiao. He didn't like Qing Mingqiang. He was too scheming. He wasn't even as good as Qi Zhigao. And Qing Minjing shrugged. You may have to go back to the Xiao family. Hee, I'm doing well now. Why should I go back? Of course Xiao Chen couldn't go back. After he went back, how could he investigate the people who were targeting him and his father? Really? Qing Minjing seemed to be a little happy after listening. Humph, at least you still have a little conscience. You know that I treat you well. Xiao Chen was slightly stunned and then he smiled. Yeah. Xiao Chen knew that Qing Minjing was thinking wrongly, but he didn't explain. Before, Xiao Chen thought that Qing Minjing was forced to take him in. Now it seemed that they got along quite well. Then he could still swindle some money from Lu Jinming to buy medicine. After Qing Minjing finished dinner, she went upstairs to rest. Xiao Chen went to the kitchen to help Yi Xiaoya boil medicine. This gas stove wasn't like the electric earthenware pot. It could be set on time. Xiao Chen had to keep an eye on it at all times. However, Xiao Chen set an alarm clock with his mobile phone, and then he sat next to it and practiced. After a while, the medicinal liquid in Xiao Chen's room was ready. Xiao Chen went to take it and drank it. Then he started to exercise in the kitchen. At the beginning, the feeling was the same as every day. But soon Xiao Chen found something wrong. This feeling made Xiao Chen's heart tremble, and his expression became dignified. I'm about to break through. This feeling was similar to the previous breakthroughs. It was the kind of feeling where water overflowed when it was full. The vitality circled along the meridians and circulated in Xiao Chen's body. With the continuous increase of vitality, Xiao Chen seemed to feel that the moment was approaching. Immediately afterward, the vitality in Xiao Chen's meridians slowly stopped, and then it quickly rushed to his dantian. At this moment, the vitality in his body continuously poured into Xiao Chen's dantian. Xiao Chen only felt like his dantian was about to explode. The vitality in his dantian was constantly being compressed. This feeling was exactly the same as when Xiao Chen broke through previously. Therefore, although it was painful for Xiao Chen, he could still grit his teeth and persevere. It was just that this time, it was obviously more painful than before. Not only was his dantian swollen to the point of pain, but Xiao Chen's entire body was also filled with a burning feeling. It was like a chain reaction, and it seemed that his dantian had also affected his entire body. Boom! After about half an hour or so, Xiao Chen's body suddenly trembled, and in the meridians in his body, it was as if something had been broken, bringing with it a trembling pain, and a burning feeling as if his whole body was being burned by fire. Xiao Chen knew that he was about to break through. However, the clothes on his body had also been burned to ashes by the hot temperature. It wasn't until Xiao Chen felt a cold feeling that he realized that he was actually naked. F***C. If I broke through on the street, wouldn't they think that I was a psychopath who ran out to run naked? Xiao Chen let out a long sigh of relief, and then cursed in embarrassment. He wondered if the Elder Heaven Ancestor had encountered such an embarrassing thing when he broke through in the past. Stinking brat, you still dare to make up stories about your master in your head. A fierce reprimanding voice came into Xiao Chen's ears. We cultivators cultivate to become immortals, and the clothes we usually wear are naturally specially made so they won't be burned at all. You're wearing ordinary clothes, so who can you blame? Oh, so that's how it is. Xiao Chen was a little embarrassed after hearing this. But, you broke through so quickly, kid? It doesn't make sense. The Elder Heaven Ancestor said with some doubt. Doesn't make sense? Is cultivation very scientific? Xiao Chen was a little speechless. Why did the Elder Heaven Ancestor's words sound so awkward? The science I'm talking about is the science of the cultivation world, and it's not the same science as yours. Kid, don't change the subject. The Elder Heaven Ancestor said angrily. You're actually a cultivator at the 4th level of the refinement stage now. This speed is too fast and your foundation is not stable. I'm afraid that there will be a problem. What problem could there be? Xiao Chen asked quickly, shocked. It's hard to say. Originally you were cultivating backwards, so there's no reference. However, according to the consistent principle of cultivators, that is, more haste, less speed. Only by taking one step at a time can you reach the peak in the future. Only those evil cultivators will pursue the speed of cultivation by any means necessary. The Elder Heaven Ancestor said. But there's an obvious drawback, and that is you'll lose your mind. That's scary. Xiao Chen was a little worried after hearing this. Then what should I do? What else can you do? Who asked you to cultivate so stupidly? What can I do? The Elder Heaven Ancestor looked helpless. Damn. Then I'll just hold on? Xiao Chen was really speechless. This master didn't seem very reliable. It doesn't matter. I'll help you follow up. If you have any problems, I'll help you find them in time. The Elder Heaven Ancestor said. Okay. Xiao Chen had no other way. He could only do this. He could not cultivate now, right? He knew that there might be trouble, but for the sake of strength, he had to keep going. Xiao Chen was asking the Elder Heaven Ancestor questions about cultivation when Yi Xiaoya's voice came from the kitchen door. Xiao Chen, is my medicine ready? Ah. Xiao Chen was shocked. He subconsciously reached out to cover the important parts of his body. This had been seen by Yi Xiaoya once before. This made Xiao Chen feel really embarrassed. Ah? Yi Xiaoya walked into the kitchen and saw the naked Xiao Chen. She suddenly screamed, Xiao Chen, what are you doing? Why aren't you wearing clothes again? I'm sorry. Xiao Chen suddenly felt a little ashamed. I just practiced. I accidentally burned my clothes and I couldn't stop. Damn, do you think I'm stupid? How can the special effects in TV commercials be real? Yi Xiaoya pouted, but seeing that Xiao Chen was helping her with the medicine, she didn't say anything. Well, actually, I was in the room. I was sweating from the exercise, so I didn't wear clothes. However, my phone reminded me that the time for your medicine was almost up, so I came to take a look. I didn't expect you to come down. Xiao Chen smiled bitterly. Then you can say it directly. Yi Xiaoya said disdainfully, thank you. You can go back and wear clothes now. I'll do it myself. Chapter 139. And Xiao Chen nodded and quickly went back to his room. Xiao Chen realized that Yi Xiaoya, the cool girl, was not completely cool. At least this time the two of them had a few words. And this was a good start. When they were more familiar with each other, Xiao Chen planned to ask her about the Kuji fruit. In fact, it would take more than 10 minutes for the potion to be ready, so Yi Xiaoya decided to wait here. In her boredom, she found some ashes near the stove. It seemed to be the remains of burning cotton fabric. What is this? It's so strange. Yi Xiaoya pinched it with her hand and twisted it in her hand. It really smells like burnt clothes. Could it be that Xiao Chen's clothes were really burnt? It's so strange. Could it be that he accidentally touched the flame and was embarrassed to say it out loud? Yi Xiaoya thought. Xiao Chen returned to his room and quickly took a hot shower to wash the sweat and mud off his body. Suddenly, he thought of the dregs in the electric clay pot, so he quickly asked, Elder Heaven Ancestor, this medicine has been used for 2 days. Can I continue to brew the medicine tomorrow with the remaining dregs? No, it's stage 4, it's time to change the medicine. Elder Heaven Ancestor said lightly. Of course you can use it if you want. Drink it as a beverage. Who would drink such a disgusting beverage? Xiao Chen was speechless, and at the same time his heart was bleeding. 500,000. My money. I only used it for 2 days and it's all gone? Isn't this too wasteful? He's even more wasteful than the young master of the Xiao family before. He spends money like water. I'll give you a new prescription. Don't forget to get the medicine tomorrow. Elder Heaven Ancestor said, not bad. Now, even if you face a martial artist at the peak of stage 4 of inner force, you'll be able to fight him. Elder Heaven Ancestor, what kind of special abilities do I have at the 4th level of refinement stage? Xiao Chen asked. Oh, level 4 refinement stage. The Elder Heaven Ancestor said, the greatest ability of a cultivator at the 4th level of the refinement stage is the transformation of primordial qi. Transformation of vitality? Xiao Chen didn't quite understand. What does that mean? Actually, it's very simple. The so-called yuan energy conversion is to convert the yuan energy in your body into other types of energy. For example, you can convert it into flames, water vapor, electricity, energy, and so on. It can also be used as nutrients to accelerate the ripening of plants. For example, if you plant a cherry tree, you can use essence to accelerate the ripening of the cherries, greatly reducing the ripening period. The Elder Heaven Ancestor explained, Of course, the effect of accelerated ripening is 100 times, 1,000 times better than normal ripening. This is because your yuan qi is formed from the purest spiritual energy of heaven and earth. It's much better than the yuan qi you injected in such a short amount of time. One is inside and the other is on the surface. Is it really so awesome? Xiao Chen's eyes bulged. Then can I cook without gas in the future? Can I use a telephone? Can I make some water when I take a bath instead of using a water heater? Can I only buy seeds and accelerate the ripening of the vegetables? Can I drive without gas? Yes, you can. The Elder Heaven Ancestor said affirmatively. However, it will be hard for you to recover your yuan qi after it is used up. If you don't want to break into the 5th level of the refinement stage, just keep using it. You can use it however you want. You don't need to save it. It was not until then that Xiaoqin realized that the yuan qi in his body was limited. If he used it up, he would have to train himself to get it back. It was fine to cook some delicacies with yuan qi for Qing Minjing and Jin Beibei occasionally, but if he used it for this or that, it wouldn't be long before his yuan qi ran out, and a night of training would be wasted. How could he break into the 5th level of the refinement stage then? It's just an emergency. Even in the world of cultivators, nobody would waste their yuan qi like that. The Elder Heaven Ancestor said, besides, I was counting on your yuan qi for me to use. What should I do if you waste it? Fine. Xiaoqin gave up on that unrealistic idea of saving money. Only by doing this could he save some money. Compared to what he spent, it was simply not worth it. The 4th level of the refinement stage. When he calmed down, Xiaoqin had a feeling that everything was unreal. How long had it been since he left the Xiao family? The life of the useless young master was still vivid in his mind. But in the blink of an eye, he had become a martial arts expert, a medical expert, and a brilliant cultivator. Equivalent to a martial artist at the peak of the 4th level of inner force? Was this the martial arts that he had been dreaming of since he was a kid? Xiaoqin, among the younger generation of the aristocratic families in Songning City, was already in existence far ahead of them. Of course, it could not be ruled out that some people were hiding their real strength. Chao Yuliang was already so powerful. What about the others? Yu Xiaochuan was not someone who was easy to deal with. Perhaps, only Lu Jinming and Qin Jinping did not hide anything? Thinking of this, Xiaoqin increasingly felt that these young masters from the big families were not simple. Thinking of the past, he thought that he had deceived everyone. But what was the result? Wasn't he kicked out of the Xiao family and his father missing? It seemed that hiding one's strength was just a small path after all. Only when one had absolute strength, that was the true path. If Xiaoqin had not become a cultivator, he was afraid that he would have died in the hands of Lu Jinming before Chao Yuliang and Qin Jinping could make a move. Don't look at how this kid did not have any deep schemes. When it came to being ruthless, he was the best of two. He dared to kill someone with his car in the downtown area. What else could he not do? Xiaoqin secretly rejoiced. Fortunately, he met the Elder Heaven Ancestor so that he could play Lu Jinming like a monkey. Otherwise, it was hard to say who was playing who. The night was silent. Xiaoqin consolidated his strength of the 4th level of the refinement stage. It was not until dawn that Xiaoqin stopped. He put on his clothes and went out of the house to the morning market street. Today was Saturday. Xiaoqin had to set up a stall on the morning market street all day. When he arrived at the old auntie's grocery store, Tang Tang was already there preparing. Morning, Xiaoqin. I have prepared a little more today. But, you are a great boxing master. I don't think you will be interested in this little bit of money. Tang Tang laughed. No matter how small a mosquito is, it's still meat. Why won't I be interested? Xiaoqin was so poor that he almost went crazy. The medicine bought with 500,000 yuan made him blind in 2 days. What a waste. Haha, well, look at your miser. I will only ask for my living expenses. You can have the rest. Tang Tang nodded with satisfaction. As long as Xiaoqin accompanied her to sell breakfast every day, she would be very happy. Tang Tang felt very warm. Although the days were dull and hard, it seemed to be the life she wanted. There were no disputes in big families. There were no intrigues between people. She just wanted to be with her favorite, her buddy. Xiaoqin rode the bike and Tang Tang sat in the back. He did not expect to meet Ke Lin's family at the entrance of the morning market street. Ke Lin and Mrs. Lin were pushing the bike in the back, and Lin Dongliang was riding in the front to control the direction. Sister Lin? Tang Tang saw Ke Lin and greeted her. Ah, it's my sister and Xiaoqin. You also set up the stall so early. It's really hard. Ke Lin did not dare to look at Xiaoqin and just said to Tang Tang. Well, come and get the fried dough sticks later. I prepared one more for you. Tang Tang smiled. Well, thank you, sister. I will also bring you some noodles. Kerlin said quickly. Tang Tang's stall was near the outside and Kerlin's stall was inside. Tang Tang inherited the stall of the grocery store's auntie. This breakfast stall used to belong to the auntie, but she was now old and could not afford to work hard. Tang Tang just wanted to do it, so she made it for her so the location was better. Soon they arrived at Xiao Chen's stall. Xiao Chen waved his hand to Kerlin. Kerlin blushed and said, well. Then she turned and left. She did not dare to let her mother see that she was very familiar with Xiao Chen. You don't like her? Or do you like Cheng Menjing? Tang Tang saw that Xiao Chen did not seem to have much interest in Kerlin, so she asked curiously. It's nothing. I said that I am afraid that she will be harassed. Xiao Chen shook his head and said, she and I are people from two different worlds. She will not understand what these aristocratic families and martial artists are like. I can't give her anything. What's more, I am not even Xiao Chen now. I can't afford to support myself. Why should I support her? Well, in my opinion, it's you who still can't forget Cheng Menjing. Tang Tang understood it in her heart. Otherwise, it is impossible for you to be with her. There is a gap between your identity and background. Why do you still stay in the villa and not leave? How is it possible? Xiao Chen said with a wry smile. It's just that when I was down and out, she gave me a place to live. I can't say that now that I am a little better, I will leave, right? Okay. You are right, okay? Tang Tang said helplessly. Soon the two of them were busy. Since the business had opened, they didn't have much time to chat. A busy day had begun. Lu Jinming felt that Cheng Menjing seemed to like eating fried dough sticks, so he also wanted to give it a try this morning. He wanted to treat Cheng Menjing to breakfast and promote their relationship. He picked up the phone and dialed Xiao Chen's number first. Xiao Chen was frying fried dough sticks when the phone rang. He thought it was Cheng Menjing looking for him. But when he saw it was Lu Jinming, he suddenly picked up the phone and said angrily, Lu Jinming, what are you doing? Lu Jinming was stunned. He thought that why Xiao Chen's tone was so fierce today. Did he take gunpowder or something? However, he asked Xiao Chen for help. Even if he was angry, he didn't dare to hang up the phone. He could only ask weakly, Xiao Chen, you are so hot-tempered today, get to the point. Xiao Chen said impatiently. In fact, I want to treat Cheng Menjing to breakfast today. Let's go to your place in the morning market street. Can you help me check? And see if she got up? Lu Jinming asked quickly. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.